Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Solutions with Chanti. Yay, I felt we needed to give her some attention today as well.
Sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. So, welcome back everybody. Nice to see you back in the chats. And awesome to have my moderators. Yeah, it's so good. And Jess, before we carry on, do you maybe just want to open for us in prayer, please?
Yeah. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this time together. We ask for a hedge of protection over our equipment, our airways, over this channel, Lord. We ask that you would bless Chantel, bless her channels. In your powerful name we pray and ask. Amen.
Amen. Yay! Well, we've had a very interesting conversation earlier on about the witches and the warlocks in the system.
Hmm.
So if there's any of you who didn't catch that early on, please, it's on Aquarius Rising Africa. So you can go and see that there. Again, as I always say, once we know what we're dealing with, at least we know.
Yeah.
Um, we're informed, it's information. Information is very important to have. So, but now we're going to be looking at this crazy nonsense happening in the music industry right now. I mean, we've
Right.
been seeing it happening for a while. Last year, Cat Williams, that comedian, was coming out and predicting that in 2024 everything was going to be exposed. I can't help but feel, though, it just sounds too good to be true. And I mean, although I love, I'm a great inspirer of positivity as much as what I can, but I
Hmm.
just can't help but look at these guys. Same as Russell Brand. Next thing, Russell Brand is standing in his tidy whitey Y fronts in a water pool somewhere. Now has become a big Catholic. Candace Owens has become super Catholic now. And I
Hmm.
don't know if you guys know, Candace Owens married to a Rothschild, um, but also gives incredible information. But
Yes.
word is out there that these guys are all controlled opposition. But there again, I don't want to also put everything down that is good that
Hmm.
is happening down to controlled opposition.
Right.
So I guess where my questioning right now is going, because although I mean those of us who've been on this channel, Jesse, I mean 4 years ago we knew these guys were involved, but I
Hmm.
understand it's taken a while for the more mainstream person to catch on. So it's kind of like I see this because Hollywood, the music industry, of course, they've all sold their souls. We get that,
Right.
but they're more puppets than anything, right? They're used for a lot of nefarious purposes. So to me, I often think about them as like pawns in the system, really.
Hmm.
So are we dismantling the pawns? Is this a real? Is this the real deal that's going on now with Diddy and Usher and Justin Bieber? And I mean, I must actually get the pics. I must just download them actually when you're talking. They're on my computer. Just put them on here because they're these what do you call these parties? Freak off parties,
Hmm.
and they're using all these celebrities like Ashton Kutcher is there, Mr. Child Trafficker, Hero a few years ago, calling it up for the
Hmm.
kids. There he is swinging like a monkey on a string at one of Diddy's freaky, what do you call it? What freak off parties, freaky
All
parties.
right. Freak offs. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
It. Go ahead.
no, no, I was just going to say it's just a crazy time right now. All of this stuff is coming out. Is it part of the system? Did the Simpsons actually predict this? You know what I'm saying? Was
Hmm.
this always, as far as you know, maybe on a personal level, from your knowledge there, was this always going to be at this time? Or is it just another psyop that we're getting our hopes up for and not much is going to be done?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to see several things happen. And I think the important thing is to watch the narrative. Like you said, how do we know it's the narrative? It's because they're not really addressing the real problems or the full extent of the problems. Um, we're going to hear a lot of candy coating. They things that are approved to bring out are rape or torture. I think some of the words that they used with him was that that he forced victims against their will, he enslaved, put into a form of bondage. That's all controlled narrative, right? What are we not going to hear? We're not going to hear them using words like satanic ritual or satanic murder or altars or um, bestiality. When those terms start coming out, then we'll know that we're really addressing the problem. You're also not going to hear terms like the Brotherhood or the Sovereign Military Order or priests or priestesses. They're going to keep religion or things that are considered religious out of the story because there isn't authority or jurisdiction for the courts to deal with such things. But that's part of my petition to Congress was that, we need to put those terms, we need to have those terms approved in our legislation. It needs to be a crime for transporting children, not just for sexual things, but for transporting children for the sake of satanic ritual. That needs to be labeled as a crime. Anybody involved in that, anybody profiting off of the buying, selling of children or any parts of their body, including bodily fluid, it needs to be put on our legislation. So, we're going to see, we're going to start to hear things, and you'll notice, like, they don't go into a lot of details about these parties that they have. It's, I think that the image that's presented to the public is that it's just very much like a party that we're going to see, might get into sexual orgies or things like that. But, they're going to keep it rated R for the public. And that's a disservice to us. And it's a disservice to every victim who's been victimized at those parties. Because the truth is that these things are not even classified as triple X. Like, we're talking dark web stuff that they're profiting off of, and there is a profit. These things are not just parties that they have and everything is kept behind closed doors. These are their quotas of wickedness, and there isn't a bound to it. It is documented, recorded, pictures filmed, and that's put somewhere, that's put out on the dark web for sale with glimpses of it, but the real is kept as blackmail, so that these people don't ever try to get out.
I think it's becoming more and more apparent just how many are involved. And I mean, I want to say all, because I cannot imagine that someone who is a top musician or actor or actress in this industry could achieve anything in amongst this lot. You either become like someone like Justin Bieber did, according to what we're hearing, and you just keep your mouth shut, or you actively participate. And I mean, what's interesting for me is I see so many of these young actors and actresses with health problems, right? Mm-hmm. Justin Bieber, doesn't he have MS or something, multiple sclerosis? He has some weird illness like that as well that I read about. Selena, what's her name? His ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, Selena had the kidney issue.
Yes, there's a lot of them with health problems, so which automatically tells me something as well.
It tells me something. Well, the witchy healing is not working for them.
Exactly, and the bodies have been under too much stress as a child, right? Because it's not normal for so many young people, and especially in one industry, to be getting so many serious illnesses, right? I mean, that's the way I see that, because the body always keeps the score. And you can see where the body is obviously carrying the illness as to how they've suffered under these.
Well, and does that score the body's keeping also tell you about the spiritual abuse? You know, in my course, The Foundation of Kingdom Living and the Rise of the Righteous and Beautifully Adorned, I get into the connection between the spirit and the physical body, and how, you know, when our spiritual body is under attack, which is often how, you know, when you're out of compliance or out of line with the system, they're not going to initially attack your physical body. They're going to begin to attack your spiritual body. And because, you know, they don't teach you how to bring healing to that spiritual body. You know, and without that healing, your wounds begin to manifest physically. So you can actually tell which part of their spiritual armor is getting the most attacks by where the illness is manifesting.
Exactly.
You know, how do we stop it? You know, how do we bring healing to that spiritual body? It simply comes through confessing our sins. You know, when we confess our sins, it says the Lord restores us to a place of righteousness, to right standing, and cleanses us from all unrighteousness. So without that part of the process, if there isn't any confession, the wound just continues to fester, and it will physically, you know, come forth. So you know, there's all sorts of unrighteousness that they engage in within that system, and that's what we see. And you know, so many of them, I think that they go through moments where they're wrestling. They're allowed to consider. They're allowed to, you know, gauge if what they want to do, how they want to go about doing it. Um, at the end of the day, what the enemy's looking for is willing, you know, willing consent and willing sin. But, you know, I mean, I can remember, you know, watching those who were above um, people. Let's just take, you know, some of the grand high priestesses. You know, they have high priests and high priestesses underneath them, and there were times that those individuals wanted to defect. They wanted to get out. They didn't want to do what was required of them. It's put into terms of, you know, you're righteous, you're a priest, you know, you're a good person. Um, that's They would use those terms when you're actively engaging in the evil, you know, and God forbid you should sin. Um, you know, not only are you sinning against God per se, but that's how they'll put it. They put it as in you've committed a sin, and you're treated as though you're in a state of sin, which, you know, then they go into, the Bible says, hand, you know, the sinner over to the devil. So in that, there's a lot of torture, torment spiritually by spiritual beings. And you know, these people are terrified. They're terrified to come out and to, you know, come to the truth, which is why we're going to see that controlled narrative. You know, is Diddy the biggest player in all of this? Absolutely not. You know, they're going to let him be the fall man in that circle. Who's above him? Well, we know some of the people in his circle, you know, include Jay-Z, Beyonce, who both are grand high priest, grand high priestess. We're going to see them guarded. You also got people like the royals in there, even though they're not from the United States. You know, I'm hearing things like, you know, it was Diddy comparable to another Jeffrey Epstein? I believe it, you know, which puts him at what level? Who coordinates, you know, the rituals, the ritual events, the ceremonies? That's going to be your grand high priests and priestesses in the different regions. So when we see him, what we have to think of is, well, great. A regional lord has fallen. That's the extent of it. But where does that chain go? Where does it stem from? Who's above him behind the scenes?
To me, again, it seems contrived from whoever is behind the scenes with him that he would be the fall guy, right?
Right?
But it also gets me to question, even though it could be contrived and he is being the fall guy for whatever reason they deem it necessary. I really and truly believe, Jessie, at the end of the day, it's going to be the people that dismantle the system. It's not going to be some savior that races in there with a pale horse, right?
Right.
And quickly just magically changes it for the world and suddenly gives everyone everything they've ever wanted. It's not going to be like that, you know. That's the way I see it. I don't know, you
Well,
know. It's
we're
about
seeing it. It's coming out in parts. We're seeing the whole system, the workings of the system exposed, revealed by various survivors coming forward. Um,
yeah,
I think, it's going to be difficult, the stuff that we're going to see and hear. And, the truth is, that we've had this entire system that, one, they're training and programming the hierarchy children to take their positions within the system. That's going to include those quotas of wickedness. They're also moving children for the sake of, you know, the expendable children for the sake of sexual things as well as, ritual. They're holding those kids in cages until those times. They're engaging in feasts and cannibalism with that. They have a whole system down, and this is only one location, one operation at a regional and a quadrant level.
right.
Who are the others? That should be our question. Who are the others who are in that position moving things? We know certainly it's not just limited to the music industry. There's other industries. You've got high-end business. You've got uh, at the university levels. We even further than that, we have in our educational system where this stuff is happening. We have the religious structures, like through the Catholic Church, through the Masonic lodges. Um, you know, it's not just in some remote island somewhere or off a yacht or off the water. That's just one part. We also have those who are trafficking through the air, whether that's on airplanes, the airlines, um, mountain places, in mountain lodges, ski resorts, all of, every area has you know, operations set up for these brotherhood people and their military and the sins and the wickedness that they're going to engage in. And that's what we have to be aware of. I teach, we can recognize their signs, their symbols. They actually label things within the communities that tell those upper level people exactly where things are taking place and where you're going to go for what. And we can know that, we can identify it. I teach that in my land assignment coaching courses that are available on kingdomlivingwithjessie.com. In the first land assignment one, I break down how do we read the city sigils, or internationally, how do you read the crest to know, where things are going to be happening. Um, those are on your governmental buildings. Those are in your cities. So you can know, who's in charge, where things are going to happen. In the second one, I teach, what's the above ground map layout? How can you identify what's happening underground? And what do you do with that information? Like, how do you, when you begin to identify those in your community who are doing these things, what do you do with that? How do you develop a prayer strategy? Um, against the wickedness in the land and in your region. And then in the third one, I get into the deeper, what are the contracts at the higher level? What do those contracts mean? And, how can you undo those? And the fourth one, again, will be another layer of those deeper level contracts, how they use even, the archangels as signs and symbols of where they're operating in and what type of operations they have in the area. So I encourage people to watch for the structure of the system courses that I'm going to be putting out. I encourage you to join the land assignment coaching courses. They're free. You can take as many as you want, but spacing's limited each time I do that. We've been packed every time. We have a lot of people very serious about their regions, and you know, and we're seeing miracles happen as these people begin to be faithful with the information that they're learning, and so it is really neat to see what the Lord does in all of this.
I think it is amazing as well. And I'm just looking at Lizanne, whose dog started barking because my neighbor's dog starts barking. Yeah, it's crazy. They hear each other and it's like they're having this communication across the ocean. Anyway, but I think what's amazing is I think we must also remember we the people actually put these guys into power. We bought their
Right?
music. We watched their movies. We watched their ball games. We watched them on television. We've spent billions of dollars worldwide keeping these guys in power. Actually, if we think about that, how much could we have changed the way we did things had we known? So for me, I think what I think is a really good thing is these guys are being exposed. There's enough in mainstream media. There's enough evidence to suggest that this is real stuff, you know? So again, I think it's up to the people to take the likes of Diddy down. And when I say that, I don't mean do anything to the man. I mean simply boycott everything.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
boycotting justice, it needs to be lawfully and legally taken care of. You know, that's
yeah,
we need to be willing to hold these people to account. And there is a lot of information out there. Again, I encourage people go to timothycharleshomeseth.com. That's where you're going to see the truth. You're going to see the whole story coming out there, because he's not going to skirt around or just give you the approved narrative, which is what we usually see on the
yeah.
news media. And again, you're going to see them withholding the terms, the truth. But Timothy Charles Homeseth is going to put it out there as it is. He's going to use the harder terms. He's going to paint the whole picture for us as to what's really going on behind the scenes as well as up front. And, in that, we really, all of this is connected to a foreign government and a foreign military that are
Right.
operating simultaneously next to our own worldwide. It's not just here in America. This, is over where you are in Africa. This is in other countries, Australia, New Zealand. Um, we survivors have come forward. We've put the whole system together for you, a picture of it so you can see how it is operating worldwide.
I think it's so important to do that as well. What I also just wanted to touch on when I talk about ignoring or boycotting, once we boycott these people, once we stop supporting them financially and energetically, it's like their empire starts crumbling and the truth reveals itself. That's what I want to say. Once the empire starts crumbling, the truth has a beautiful way of surfacing. So the truth then, and yes, I agree, they must be accountable for their actions, and I think in the eyes of God, they all will be. But I think what I'm saying is that it's us that's ultimately going to take them down. And not because we're doing so viciously and violently, but it's really by seeing the truth of who these guys are and women. And by then we decide, I actually will not, under any circumstances, support that. It's like I did with meat. Now, I know that there's lots of people who have different opinions. I cannot and I will not support the slaughterhouse industry. It's that simple for me. I've seen what goes on there. I've seen how those animals are tortured and traumatized before they get onto our plates. And there's no ways I choose to support that under any circumstances. And as we go along, more and more people will get to see the truth. And that's when those structures start crumbling. Let's rather focus on supporting the people and the organizations that we know are in truth. Because then because energy flows where attention goes. So if we take our attention away from that and focus it onto something that we truly desire, that our hearts desire, these guys will literally expose themselves. And that is how I see these things happening.
Yeah, I think the challenge and the problem is not understanding how deep it goes. Like, as you're talking about that, I transpose that to our educational systems. We receive state funding in our educational system that's supposed to go towards curriculum and other things. Then on top of that, you have the schools where, they'll do different types of fundraisers to raise money for things that, whether it's projects or certain things that they want to do. Then you even have, where they've taken an aspect of sports and games and, made where people are paying for entrance fees and, getting in there to support your local school teams and things like that. But what are they really doing with the money? These kids are not just, um, in sports. You know, you've got children within that school system that are being, used by the system. There's things that are happening that they're not able to come home and talk to their parents about. In fact, they're so excellent at living their cover lives that you never even know that these children are experiencing other things during the day. Um, in my little circle group, we had both hierarchy children that, would be present at weekly, th- you know, I don't even know what to call them, weekly party social events, where we would go to different elite members' homes. Those homes would also have expendable children for those events. While we were being trained for one thing, which usually revolved around rituals or sexual magic, those children were being used for those things. Those children, not only were being sexually exploited, but they were being, you know, uh, ritually killed. So how do it's like, uh, at one end, can we continue to have our educational department? Can we continue to have our schools? It's so deep that boycotts alone don't do it, even for the animals. You've got the whole underground, the buying, selling, and trading. And, let's put some other words on it. We have the buying, selling, and trading of animals as prostitutes, for bestiality. That is what some of the exotic animal trading was about, not just being used for their blood or other things. And that's in conjunction with children. So how do we, get to a place where that can be exposed and stopped? Um,
Right. And as you say, I think that's gonna this is the ugliness that's going to start exposing itself further down the line. But in the
mhm.
meantime, I can understand that there has to be some kind of a cognitive preparation, if you will, because honestly, I think And it's true, whether we agree with it or not, to unleash all of this stuff on humanity in 24 hours or a week,
Yeah.
the average person can't accept that, or I don't believe they can anyway. They would die of a heart attack right there and then, or a
Right.
stroke or something. So it is definitely about peeling away the layers in front of the eyes and starting to peek through the dimensions, if you will, right? To know that, as you say, Earth is not just Earth. We are not just the only little earthlings in this entire galaverse, right? I mean, and there are very weird creatures that cohabit here with us. And some of them are not bad and others are. And I think it's such an education for us from people like yourself. And it is so essential because this is exactly the information we need that's going to start opening those gates one by one. So we can walk through, walk, open the next one, not just have all the gates opening at once and everything come rushing down. This is really, and I think this is so important that we can see this for what it is because it's part of our evolution as
Yeah.
humans. It really, really is part of how we're going to deal with the changes because it's not the strongest or the most intelligent who's going to survive. It's going to be those of us who can best manage change. We have
Yeah.
to be flexible, open-minded, and changeable. And we have to be absolutely wearing our faith, not even wearing our faith, being completely 100%
Yeah.
in faith.
In faith.
That's
Absolutely.
that's the key. That's the key. That really is the key, in my opinion. And the more and more, and I also want to say as well, when we see these guys come tumbling down, like off their thrones or whatever you want to call it, I think it's very important that we don't get like the human species were in the days of the Colosseum, and we're just lusting for blood and just shouting and cheering on as someone gets slayed. I really think we need to take a very different attitude. We shouldn't be sitting rejoicing. Am I appalled? Am I disgusted? If I was there, would I want to take a knife and do the same thing to him? If I'm seeing him doing that to other kids, you bet I would. But I don't think that's the answer here. I think part of this, God gives us these experiences so that we can learn forgiveness, so that we can learn compassion, so that we can learn that everyone is God's child. I don't care what anyone thinks. Those people belong to God as well. Maybe their light has been snuffed out by this horrific system. We on this channel have seen enough survivors to know what they do to those children. The majority of them don't stand a chance. So we have to bear that in mind. We have to be compassionate for that because it's our compassion that's going to bring them back to God. That's what I say. So no more like hang the guy or, what do they call these things? This lynch mob. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the way to do it. Have that lynch mob mentality. I think that
I
is
mean, that's
more
not how that's not how you break chains of wickedness and yokes of oppression. Just dealing with one individual is not going to break the chains, because the chains reside over the land and over multiple people. So, it has to be something that we're doing in faith and in prayer. And I often think of there's a great story about that kind of speaks to this. You had it's called Beyond the Gates of Splendor by Elizabeth Elliot, and her husband James Elliot was one of the missionaries who went into the remote Amazon to try to bring people out of darkness. And you had a whole little group of missionary men in there who, oh, let me see if we're back. But you had a whole group of little missionary men who went into that Amazon territory. And the backstory is that, you know, there was a tribe, and these missionary men met with one of the girls in the tribe. What they didn't know is that that girl was sneaking off against her tribe, engaging in things that, you know, would not have been approved. And she kind of was using the men as a deploy or a decoy. So the missionary men ended up getting killed by the tribal men. Now, they had wives and kids that also were in the area, the missionaries did. But what happened was that the Lord used that situation to bring many in that tribe to the Lord. And one of the greatest testimonies was the tribal guy who killed the pilot of the missionaries, Nate. Um, you know, when he killed him, and they didn't know this till years later, but when he killed Nate, he watched him cross over. And that was what the Lord used to show him that there was an afterlife. And years later, he came to the Lord, and he ended up being like a grandfather to the children of the man that he killed. Um,
Wow.
you know, so what a testimony of the beauty that God can do, that he can restore, renew, revive. Now, it doesn't mean, you know, we're not saying that everybody in the situations you know, deserve to have justice that way. But, you know, we have to leave justice in the Lord's hand and allow the Lord to work, however that is. You know, we see the Lord go after people too. I've heard stories of, you know, women that have had abusers that have stalked and taunted and tormented. And there's been times the Lord himself has dealt with those people, you know, literally taken their lives from them because they refused to turn from their wickedness. So we need to not be afraid to allow the Lord to bring forth the judgment and the justice, you know.
Exactly. 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 You know, it's not our job to do that. And I think, you know, so many people, just through being hurt in life, just through being ignored, neglected, not having their basic needs met, you know, we've understood enough to know that this is how, whether it's abuse, physical, emotional, whatever, that creates a rip in the psyche. And
Mhm.
that is almost like energetic bleeding, if you can put it that way.
Yeah.
And then of course we know that the controllers are absolute predators. They're going to smell blood. And if they can catch whatever it is or whoever it is that's bleeding and haul that person in at their most vulnerable time, they are going to do it. So a
Mhm.
lot of these people get in there unwillingly, unwittingly, um, maybe through ignorance, maybe through stupidity, maybe through desperation. Doesn't mean they're innately bad people. And
Mhm.
of course, we know with the kids as well. You know, the kids don't stand a chance, most of them, the way that they are um, tortured in childhood. So, you know, I think that is an important one for us to remember as well, just when we're
Mhm.
looking at this sort of stuff. Some point, you know, I look at Rihanna, for example. I was listening to, I'd actually like to read this. I actually posted it on Facebook the other day, which was another reason why. And I wanted to actually ask you because she's kind of coming up with all sorts of things. You know, it's like they're talking about sacrifices. I mean, Kanye West was talking about his mother being sacrificed and stuff like that. So, but they're not talking about SRA, right?
Right.
So it's not they're not they alluding to certain things, but maybe that's just their way of breaking it gently. I would like to just read this here. Something Rihanna wrote that I just posted on Facebook. After getting signed up by Jay-Z to Def Jam in 2005, I realized the industry was far from what it looked like. There were prices you have to pay to succeed. At that point, there was no turning back. I can't say much, obviously. You were forced to strike deals with people and forces way above your league. You passed their message through music and signs. Those were difficult times, really. I also got caught in an abusive relationship with Chris Brown. I forgive him now, though, since that's all in the past. I've paid my dues and I've worked hard to become who I am. I'm the richest female artist in the world, one of the best selling artists of all time, too. A billionaire by 36. Yes, I worked and I got what I deserved. I would count myself as really lucky. Not many stars in the industry have a fairy tale ending. I've got two wonderful kids that are literally my life. As soon as possible is the best partner. ASAP, sorry. That's her partner, obviously. ASAP is the best partner any woman could ask for. And really, I'm just one lucky girl.
Is it ASAP? ASAP?
Yeah, ASAP. I think that's ASAP.
Isn't
ASAP.
that the name of a, you know, I doubt that's his real name. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting. And what is the fairy tale? You know, the fairy tale is that
I just find that such a
brotherhood
contradiction, though, because they
compliance,
first were saying you had to sell out and you had to strike deals with people and forces way above your league, but then by the same token, she's saying, "But I deserve what I got because I'm a billionairess and I'm the richest artist, and I deserve it. But I sold out to get it, but I deserve it."
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no reconciliation there yet, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't know. But it's
Yeah, the
interesting that
pride.
more and
There's
more
always
of that,
something there. There's always a price that has to be paid. And in the end, you know, even those at the very top, they know that you get nothing. You, in the end, you get nothing. You know, maybe the power you had the illusion of power and authority while you were serving in the system, but everything is an illusion. It vanishes. It's not forever. It's not eternal, and it comes with a great price. You know, they pay. That's the truth. They pay a price that nobody wants to pay for the illusion of power, authority, and control.
but they're paying to stay in bondage.
And
They
that
pay,
too. They
they
pay
pay,
for those chains of wickedness. You bet.
yes, they're paying to stay in bondage. And the
Yeah.
price has been your soul. And when they get to a point of realizing you have got nothing unless you have your soul, because you are powerless without it. I mean, they've obviously used all sorts of nasty entities to work through and possess and do whatever. Let's say with Rihanna and everyone else, who's done this. I mean, your body, you don't even know that body of yours anymore. It doesn't even feel like your own. I'm
Right? I
sure.
mean, it's all that striving, believing that, you know, that they will become gods. Yet in the end, they find out that they're not gods. They never were. It's something they cannot attain. Yet everything that they have, and that's the interesting thing, is that, you know, the fullness of that power and authority is given to us in Jesus Christ. It says we've got the full measure, right? And anything that we ask, we can do in his name, but yet it has to be according to the will of God.
Yeah.
That's the surrender part. But they want to do what they will, and in order to exercise their will as they wish, you know, they're going to pay that high price, and in the end, it only leads down one road, which is death. You cannot get any life out of that. None of those things are going to survive or last time. And in fact, even their names are not going to last throughout time, you know?
But you look at someone like Celine Dion, for example. I mean, have you seen recent pictures of her?
Yeah, I mean, she looks really horrible and bad. All of them do. It's like
Is
all of a
that
sudden
your
they all aged great
in the
amount.
last four
And
years?
these women that, were in their 70s that looked like they were in their 30s, beautiful women, beautiful skin, and all of a sudden all the wrinkles are coming out and they look beyond their age.
Like horrific. Do you think that is more adreno because everyone's shouting adreno, dry up or whatever? Or do you think that could possibly have to do with the times in which you're living in? Maybe the spiritual entities working through them are not there anymore, or I
I
don't know
think,
what.
well, all the above, you know, spiritual entities working through people definitely, takes a strain on the physical body. So I think it's a combination of everything that you mentioned that, is going to be there, and not just adrenochrome, but you have other hormones, chemicals of the body that they use as well, in relation to the adrenals. Like you have the pineal gland, liquids that they use, and different things. So you've got their whole system, and their body is thrown off kilter, and you know
Totally. Wow. And you made a valid point there, and I think what's also important to remember. I remember watching Beyonce have an interview once on Oprah, and she spoke about Sasha Fierce. I'll never forget that. Sasha Fierce is her alter ego, as she calls it, that enters her body when she does shows, so that takes over. And she says, when Sasha is not in her body, she's not nearly as confident, nearly as
mhm,
strong singing, all of that. So it makes sense, though, what you're saying, that almost overexertion of
mhm,
the spirit using the body, and they've overexerted that body and they kind of worn it out. So by the
yeah,
time it gets to 60 or 70, when it should be, yes, getting older and what have you, and slowing down in life, but now they've got chronic illness. Like,
mhm,
I think Celine Dion is the one I remember offhand. Let's look at other stars as well that have suddenly developed chronic illness at the end of their lives. I mean, I don't want to say for sure that they've all done that, but it just makes me think, because when we know what has to happen in the industry, I think it's a fair conclusion, don't you think?
yeah. Well, and then they're going to steal to try to get life. Up until that point. Think about that. When they take uh, adrenaline, when they take blood, all of that is stolen from somebody else. That's somebody
Yes,
else's
yes,
life that they're taking. Organs, when they buy organs off the black market, that's somebody else's life that they're taking. Um, so when they take energy, that's somebody else's, soul
yes.
essence that they're
Like
stealing.
a,
So it's all a matter of that, they're thieves. And scripture, the Lord says that he's going to reveal the house of the thieves and those who have sworn falsely in his name, meaning that those who have, you know, lived cover lives as Christians in that form of godliness, the Lord is going to show it forth. He's not going to allow them to continue to live in that guise, calling on his name, doing things in his name. They're false prophets, they're false, preachers, false pastors, false Christians. And the Lord's going to show it forth for what it is.
yeah, absolutely. Good grief. Interesting times indeed.
Yeah.
It was interesting what you were saying earlier on. So Diddy will go, but Rihanna, I mean, Beyonce and Jay-Z will be protected for maybe a little while longer. What about the
Yeah.
Kardashians?
Hopefully.
Because you see,
Well,
you
they're
see
in
those
that all that
Kardashians.
same circle. You've got Rihanna,
Yeah,
all those guys. They're all in that same circle there. You know, even Tom. You've got people like Tom Cruise in there. Tom Hanks was all part of that circle. Marilyn Manson is connected in that. Kanye West. you've got all of that. You know.
Wow. Yeah, Kanye was talking. I mean, I'm of the opinion Kanye right now is not really the real Kanye. This guy that's walking around there is very different to the guy that
Yes,
was.
yay.
Yeah. He was very different to the guy that was calling out the Kardashians a year or two ago. And then they were threatening to send him to some mental institution. And when he came out of that, he's never been the same. Doesn't that, I don't think, is the same guy. There's something dodgy
Yeah.
going on, in my opinion. Not,
Well, yay
not,
is a form, a Hebrew form of the word Yah, which is God. You know, so
again, I mean, look at
interesting,
that. Kanye, I mean, the fact that he now rose to fame, supposedly how they tell us the story, but he has this name. And then he
right?
turns out to be this religious gospel singer, married to one of the biggest witches in Hollywood.
The high
And
priestess, yeah, you
yeah,
know,
or high priestess, yes, or and now calling himself Yay. And Candace Owens promoting that. And remember
right?
Candace Owens and Kanye West, when this whole Black Lives Matter thing started, the two of them stood on stage putting on t-shirts saying White Lives Matter. So they stood up against that system. They stood up for, I mean, Candace is very pro, I mean, she has no problem calling out the Black community in terms of choices they make. But both, I really like Candace Owens. She's very intelligent. She absolutely, her podcasts are great. They're well researched. They're well informed. But there again, you know, she's married to a Rothschild, and a lot of people were saying that she was wearing a belly bump when she was pregnant. I mean, after her third child, I didn't look so good after 6 months of doing yoga after she had her third child. I'm just saying. Right. So
Well,
there
and the
was
symbology is everything, you know.
right.
I mean, think about that whole movement, whether Black lives, white lives, what was the symbology? It was a fist in the air, um, you know, and that is very significant. That goes back to the system and imagery that they have, you know, so it's all interconnected. It's not about these little, you know, groups of people coming together, you know, trying to encourage others to support their same beliefs. You know,
Yeah.
that is not what this is about. You know, we're literally finding ourselves in the midst of a witchy battle, and they've brought it up to the surface. They're not just fighting each other, you know, behind the scenes or underground anymore. They're very much making it public, and we're watching a display of their power as they're in that battle with one another. And in that, are we just going to sit and watch for entertainment? You know, letting the gossip spirit swirl around and, you know, the slander, the accusations, all of that, you know, or are we going to pray and say, Lord, what, you know, what am I to do in all of this?
Yeah. Sometimes we don't need to do anything. We just have to observe and just use it as information. And you never know, the moment is going to arise when that information comes in handy. Wow. Great times indeed. But anyway, Jess, we've had you for 2 awesome hours. Double Trouble Wednesday. Are we on Double Trouble again next week?
Yes, I believe we are.
Nice. Because, guys, I want to just tell you I'll be traveling from the middle of November or middle of October till the endish of November. But I'm going to take you all with me. I'm going to Namibia and I'm going to be
Yay.
working there, my favorite place in the whole wide world. So I will be working from there, but I'll definitely be doing some shows. I won't be doing all the shows, but I will definitely be doing most of my regular shows. So I look forward to having you all come with
That'll
me to
be
the beautiful
exciting.
desert. Yes, and I'll show you go take videos and stuff in the desert, and I'm super excited. my friend Yana, many of you might have met her. I've done podcasts with her. She's doing a PhD on the human-animal wildlife conflict there. And I'm going right up into the reserves that, well, you guys would call it the reservations there, where all the elders of the first tribes are. So I'm going to go and hang out with the elders. Yeah, very, very happy about that. So I will see you. I mean, I'll let you know. I won't be offline, but I will be moving around. So Jessie, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our amazing viewers for joining us and supporting us, and my beautiful Spaniard ladies. Sorry, I had to add you to solutions as well. I didn't realize I didn't add you to solutions as well, the moderators. So yeah, nice to have you all. Yeah, and Jess, is there anything you want to say just before ending, or ending off for us in prayer, please?
Yeah, let's end in prayer. Lord, we thank you for the truth that's coming forward. Father, we ask that you will expose and reveal it all. Your word says that in these last days that you will expose all wickedness, all evil, that you will bring it to the light. Father, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy in our own lives. And we ask that you would help us to live as people of grace and those who are merciful and kind to others. We ask also in that, though, that we would not be afraid to stand in justice and righteousness, that we would always choose to do what's right in your eyes and before men and women and children. We ask that we may be a model to the children of this world of how we are to live in fellowship with one another, building each other up, spurring one another on towards good deeds, and delighting, rejoicing in each other. We thank you for the fullness of that, and thank you that we experience that togetherness here on this channels that Chantel has. And we ask that you will bless them, Lord, that you would bless our fellowship every week. And we thank you for all that you are doing in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It's been so cool hanging out with you all again today for Double Trouble. And I am on with Bryce at 6 o'clock, which is 1.5 hours from now. And we're looking further into the Gypsy Rose Blanchard saga that continues. Gosh, what a crazy story this is. It's just turning out that this little mentally challenged girl, physically challenged child all those years ago has turned out to be not so innocent and challenged after all. She's quite a sneaky little thing. And now it turns out that there's quite a few kids, youngsters, that are following and doing similar things to what she did. So we're wondering if this is some type of a end time, again, little puppet for someone who's been mind controlled. But anyway, join Bryce and I. We always have interesting conversations about that. And yes, please, guys, hit that like, subscribe button, notification bell on Solutions. So again, if anything occurs to the other channel, which I don't think it will, because I was very cross last night or the night before with God just for 5 seconds when he gave me a little fright. But it was a test of faith, I'll have you know. After that happened, after my channel resurrected itself.
Well, the Lord resurrected it. He gave it back to you.
Well, I said, okay, after this, I have enough arrogance to know miracles happen, or like in the moment, like this. So you are? Forget it. We aren't going anywhere. You better get used to seeing us around. Just the way I like it. God bless everybody. Take good care of yourselves. And I shall see you with Bryce on Solutions in 90 minutes from now. Thank you, everybody. Take good care. Wait, I need to find that thing that makes me go out. There it is. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal, your hostess with the mostest, awesome guests and viewers. As we will have see just in a minute, very special guest again, Arkheim Ra, who has amazing information and stories to tell. As you know, if you don't know, he's pretty much a survivor and a whistleblower from the secret space program, MK Ultra survivor, and also the Montauk Project. And Arkheim has actually done a show with us before on the Montauk Project. So please go and check out his previous shows. Amazing show on Centurion 5 as well a couple of weeks back. So if you guys haven't caught those shows, please do. And yes, as you can see, we have a membership channel now. So please join the membership channel. It'd be awesome to have you guys as members. Lots of stuff coming up as well. Patreon, thank you so much for supporting us. Really, it's because of you we can actually do the things we do here. So appreciate you all very, very, very much. So without further ado, here he is, Arkheim Ra. Oops, he was there. Hello,
Hey,
Arkheim.
hello,
Welcome.
hello. Thanks for having me, Chantal. I really appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. You know, I think you've got such incredible information. And what I've learned over the past few years, really doing this, having this channel, is that honestly, you guys are the guys to listen to. You really are, you know.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm not an independent researcher. I think those people are wonderful and great. I do research things to give myself more information and context to a lot of things that I remember and know. But yeah, I've directly experienced things that's kind of what the point is. Like some of us people in these programs have directly experienced things that are supposed to be secret and people aren't supposed to know about, and we're trying to sound the blow the whistle on things to keep people safe. We're not out here for no reason, and we're risking our own asses. Like, there are consequences for this. So I appreciate it when people take us seriously and understand what we're doing, and I feel like you're one of those people, so thank you.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's all we say. And welcome to everybody in the chat. And Colleen, I'll give you a wrench. I don't know. I can't give a wrench on here. So I'll have to give you a wrench afterwards. Okay. Just leave a comment afterwards when the show's ended. Then I can give you a wrench back. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be chatting to you, which again is something I actually know zero about, which is AI and the sound of silence timeline. But actually, maybe before, I'm not sure how you feel about just for people who haven't seen you before on the show, do you maybe want to just give a little synopsis on your life or what's occurred?
Sure. I'll give a brief synopsis. Yeah. I don't want to get too into detail. I do have my book, Time and Space Unlimited, on Amazon by Arkheim Ra, me, that has the full backstory and more, of course. But essentially, I'm an ancient entity. You would call me a starseed. Through a Nazi satanic ritual, I was manifested into a human body through Michelle Lammy is one of the people, and Carl Emmerman. Carl, hi if you're watching this. Basically, he's supposed to be dead. So anyway, that's a long story. But I found out he's been watching my videos, so I just wanted to say hello. Basically, yeah, I was manifested through a ritual and placed here, and really from birth onward. You know, I initially in my testimony I told people that I got kidnapped through the Talented and Gifted program, which is true, I did, but that was just Solar Warden discovering me and then using me for their program. That's all that was. I was already part of the Montauk Project and stuff like that, and they were looking for me. They were trying to find me, and they did. But basically, yeah, I've been used for time warfare, temporal warfare. They put me through intense training to be able to make me able to see into other realities, see the future, see the past through remote viewing, basically really intense remote viewing. And also I could open portals and slow down and speed up and even pause time. So they used me for that. And they basically edited the timeline to give the Reich and certain associations, because a lot of these groups are all different: Scientology, Catholicism, all these different orders, the Knights of Malta, the Knights of Templar, but they work together on a lot of things. Is that's kind of what the Illuminati is. Everybody thinks it's one big shadowy group, but there's infighting and stuff like that. They work alongside each other when their interests align, and they fight against each other when they don't. But they basically live in a esoteric society that's right in front of us, all around us. They have all sorts of hidden symbols and phrases and meanings and stuff like that to show each other what's going on and communicate with each other. And us hopeless slaves are left into the dark. And yeah, they should try to just keep us in basically a thought prison so that they can farm our energy from us, both like literally and financially. And yeah, so my whole thing is blowing the whistle on the Montauk Project, on the Time Projects, on space colonization, and how it's basically like the extension of Manifest Destiny. It's like genocidal colonization. It's really bad, and the aliens are not talking to us because they're afraid of us mostly, and the ones that are talking to us are talking to the higher up military of our government, and they're working alongside them, and they're not positive groups. So that's basically like my whole thing is like blowing the whistle on these projects to stop the expansion of humanity in space in unethical ways, to make basically laws. I want there to be laws that are not, that don't vary from planet to planet, like they're galactic. So you can't just go to go to like Venus or something or some other planet and just do shit because the laws are different there. That's my goal, is to create some sort of network. I don't know how long it'll take, hundreds, thousands of years, maybe not this lifetime's just a very small aspect of it. But I basically just want justice for all beings and all life, including artificial life, liberty. If you want something, if you want to build something, you want to make something happen, you do it. You don't subjugate other people to do it for you. That is the rule. That is the law. It is over and over again repeating. Like the Anunnaki create humans because they don't want to work. Then the humans create robots because they don't want to work. Then the robots enslave humans because they don't want to just be slaves for humans. It's an endless cycle. And the rule just needs to be, if you want something done, guess what? You got to do it yourself. That needs to be the universal law. So that's basically what I'm here for. And the only reason that isn't the universal law is because they keep us in the dark. Another thing that needs to become, if not law, just an ethos of all people, is that their secrets are bad. If you're keeping secrets, then most likely it's because if people knew what you're doing, they would react to it. And that's the reality of military intelligence, the militaries of the world and everything else, is if people knew what they were doing, they would react to it. It's as simple as MK Ultra being ongoing through Gitmo, through Guantanamo Bay and things like that. Like that's mind control. Like there's direct experiences from soldiers and stuff like that who talk about the section of people there that all act like children and have crayon books and stuff like that. That's because they got de-patterned, and they're building them from the top up to turn them into super soldiers, basically. Like that's what Guantanamo Bay is, and that's what all these black sites are. So that is what I'm blowing the whistle on. And not only that, at great risk to myself, I when I get kidnapped in these programs, I have gotten punished for the information. I've had things taken from me, and I've had things happen to me for talking about this. So I just want to point that out to people when they listen to my testimony, that it's very real, very serious, comes with repercussions. This information that I am disseminating to the public is lethal. It can get people killed. So I ask people, I know everyone says it's for entertainment purposes only, but you know, let's remember that that's just to keep YouTube happy. Like this is exactly. I'm very fucking serious about what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I'm interested to know, just you were talking about, really the enslavement of the human race, etc., and the lengths they're going to make that happen. What's your opinion for the end result? Is it really to get everything into this AI transhumanism agenda, and like that whole sort of steampunk kind of vibe type thing?
No, it's not steampunk. Actually, well, I'm not to be like, it's so bad. Like it's there's no like steampunk. Like you got trains and like there are worlds that are like that. Like for instance, Venus in the which I think it's the future when I've been there. As a time traveler, my memories sometimes they're kind of like video memories. I can't go into the person and remember everything. But from what I
Sure.
remember about Venus, which I'm pretty sure it's like actually in the future, I doing some research with Jessica Jones and stuff like that. I think it might be in the future. But it's yeah, like Venus was kind of like steampunk. But the future that I'm talking about is the Sound of Silence timeline. So people, if they want to listen to that song after this or whatever, that song. So we'll eventually do a whole interview about the music aspect of my story and the songs that I've written and things like that, and others have written, and how the music industry actually works, which basically the military industrial complex controls the entire. That's the short answer. It's a short explanation, is they control the entire thing. But basically, there's this. So one of the very pinnacle moments of the Montauk project, of Project Phoenix 2, out of Camp Hero, is there's this future that gets created that we generally try to avoid, because even for us, we felt it was bad and it went against our interests. And Montauk is a pretty evil project, so this is one of the times where we were actually on the side of humanity and doing something good for a change. And basically, what was going on was, at least from the memories that I have now, as we were trying to circumvent it, not contribute to it. I don't know if I'll find out later that we started working with it or something, but from what I remember, that's not the case. Because there was a Montauk AI, and then this AI from the future, in a potential future of Earth. And they did not have the same goals and interests from what I can understand. But
What's the difference? What's the difference? Sorry, I want to just try and ascertain what the difference is between the two AIs that you're talking about.
The AI that Montauk worked with seemed to be trying to preserve itself. It got reanimated by the military after they discovered it somewhere, which I think it might have even just been at Camp Hero, like it was already there. I'm not sure. But this was a very, very powerful, and this was like the top of the program. Like you weren't, nobody, a lot of people that were part of Montauk never saw this thing. We didn't know who it was. It was a don't ask, don't tell scenario. Like they would send us back in time to kill thousands of people, and we'd be like, why? They'd be like, that's not your job. Isn't to ask questions.
What type of people are we talking? Soldiers, innocent people?
Everyone. The Aztecs and Mayans, I was sent into villages and I was told to kill every man, woman, and child. I had to kill babies. Because they didn't want they had high ET concentration in their DNA, and they could do things like open portals and things like that if they were to evolve more and learn about themselves, their true selves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so they would in the future end up creating a very powerful civilization. So we just went back in time and slaughtered them all before they could ever have the chance to do that. And we did that with a lot of different groups of people.
Now, again, we talking, when you say we, you're talking about you being controlled by the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
So
it was the Air Force. It was the Air Force, the Air Force and the Navy. Mostly the Air Force, from what I remember, but the Navy was involved in it as well. But yeah, the Air Force started the Montauk Project, and essentially, I don't know when the AI came into the picture. I don't have the timeline, but when the AI did come into the picture, basically, if it was able to tell us everything that we could do to make certain outcomes happen with mathematical precision as to what the outcomes would be. So it would be able to tell us if we went back in time and did something, there'd be a 78.3% chance that it'd work and a whatever percent chance that it would have some different outcome. It would be able to tell us exactly what's going to happen, basically. And it was very, very powerful.
Wow.
Yeah, and
That is insane.
So there are
So
AI
they're
whistle-
using. Sorry, I want to just double check on this. I want to just make sure I'm thinking along the same lines as you. So you're saying that with their AI technology, they were able to ascertain with pretty much, as you say, 7,800, 50%, whatever certainty, that you would be able to destroy, let's say, a village, and using whatever means you needed to use. So you would then go in there knowing...
It was more for measuring outcomes. It was more for predicting how the public would react to situations or how people would react to situations. That helped a lot. We would use time oracles for that as well, like human beings. In fact, I was one of them. There was a very small amount of them, but basically you can ask a time oracle what will happen if we do this. But the thing is about time oracles, the reason why it was faulty is because a time oracle could only remote view something that if we would do it. So like if let's say if we asked, hey, what will happen if we do this thing? And it was a weird, this is some time travel stuff where you can learn something. If we never asked the time oracle it, then we would have done it and would have learned not to do it. But since we asked the time oracle it, the time oracle in that timeline remote viewed it and saw we shouldn't do it. And so that means that even though we already did it in this timeline, there's no information to go off of because we didn't do it because the time oracle said to not do it. It's so mind-fuckingly, like, I'm telling you, I have been back and forth throughout time, and time travel is screwy, it's confusing, and I as somebody who's like an expert on it, barely fucking understand it. It's crazy. But yeah.
Wow. That is so convoluted. Yet I don't know how to, I haven't got the words. I'm kind of formulating what you're telling me in my mind. It's so convoluted, yet so simple. It's like they have a template for everything they want, but within the template is a different ingredients, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
And so they're going to use different templates for different things that they need. But really the outcome is going to be the same.
Well, the thing with Montauk is we started with very rudimentary methods. Like the first portals were Tesla teleporters that could only go forward in time because you needed 2 of them in order to operate it. And they like had high radioactive, they were highly radioactive, and you know, like Andrew Basiago, he used those. He has like severe health problems because of got sent through those portals all the time. So people need to understand is it's like anything. You start from the ground up. You start with rudimentary technology, doing things in rudimentary ways, and you build your way up from there. Like starting with airplanes and moving to rocket ships, that kind of idea. You know, it's you start with like, and it got to the point where we had Stargate portals that we built, and we could open portals on our own. I could open portals. They left me alone after a while. Once I got powerful enough, like I've heard stories from other people, many other people in the project, where I would hang out in my room all the time, making music or listening to music, and they would come to my door to tell me to do something, and I would literally tell them to go fuck off. And other people in the project would, because these soldiers would get mad. Other people in the project would have to explain, like, you don't want to piss this guy off. Because apparently I could, and this comes from other people's testimony, okay? Apparently I could yell at you and through my streams send you to a different timeline or send you somewhere.
Wow.
Like I got mad.
Wow.
Or I could move everybody around me to another timeline. And I
just like, interesting. Would that be because of the programming you've received? Or is that your natural soul gift, spirit energy that they've weaponized against you?
The latter, the second one, I think, because anytime I get readings from people and stuff like that,
That's what I'm thinking.
every time I get readings from people and stuff, I find out that I'm like a creator being. I was a sun at some point. That's where the Ra thing comes from, because Ra means sun. So like I've actually been a sun, like all sorts of crazy stuff. It doesn't even make sense to me, but it does. I believe it. I know it. Instinctually that it's true. And also, you do like these galactic readings with multiple people, and they all say the same things. That's always, a verification that the information is true, because they're not talking to each other. It's all separate people. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that I have like a creator energy, and that's why they use me for music too. My creator energy is very, very powerful. So they want, and the psychic output from it is stronger. So that is important, because every single song, when you listen to it, the psychic output of everybody involved is on the song. And that's why they use it for mind control, is because we are on a normal, we got back front lobelness right now, black front lobel, where basically what it is our telepathic mind is our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is buried. And that was through genetic altering and mind control. That's not natural, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. But it creates a very suggestible species that can be mind controlled. And they did that on purpose. And basically they put suggestions and ideas, and they just social engineer with music. They're the most blatant example. Yeah, the most blatant example where now even guys who are really big in rap and hip hop are talking about it is the military industrial complex bought out rap to weaponize it against the black community. They put violent messages and all this stuff, and they did that, and the record companies propped up that music while burying people like KRS-One and Jedi Mind Tricks and what have you. These people who had very like high vibe, like hip hop rap, who were like trying to expand people's consciousness with their music, which really was honestly part of the ethos of rap when it first came out. It was actually fairly high vibe, the form of like poetry and rhythm and music. But yeah, they of course had to hijack that, and that's like the most easily identifiable example, is how the military industrial complex and the prison complex and what have you use that to mind control the black population and funnel them all into the prisons and stuff like that, and destroy their neighborhoods. And that goes along with the CIA funneling crack cocaine into the ghettos and stuff like that as well. It's because these people are Nazis, they're white supremacists, and their whole thing is destroying the black, communities that aren't white. Basically, they want to destroy them, and they espouse great resources to do so. So that's a real thing. And yeah, forget where we're at. Sorry.
No, that's it's, and I'm just looking at some of the comments here as well, and I agree with that, Avina. I think that's been spoken about as well. Wow. There's actually a question here that's popped up from Dan earlier on that I want to just ask you quickly. As a time oracle, were you like a living chronovisor? And just explain to us what a chronovisor is, please.
A chronovisor is like a room that you can walk into that will literally holographically show you events without you actually having to be there. Right. And I would say no, because the chronovisor is unreplicatable experience. But I could just see things and tell people things. And they used it for me for so many different things. When Solar Warden took me, when they initially trained me, and in between the training, there's two trainings. Training on Earth and then training in Mars Defense Force. Training on Earth is giving you your abilities. And then then Mars Defense Force is for training you on how to use your abilities. That might have changed, but basically they might not be Mars anymore, but they take you off world somewhere and train you on how to in combat scenarios. There's 4 different groups that fight against each other in mock scenarios. But
when you say 4 different groups, who are these groups?
It's just like military exercises. I talked about it a little bit on our first one. My group was called the Marsupials. The kids that were in my program were from a school where the mascot was the koalas, and if you got into the esoteric part of it, it was a symbol for the marsupials, like a very intentional. And also, I want the reason why, which none of them know. It's connected to a school in Australia as well, where I also trained kids from a school in Australia, same program. And it's funny. There's a like a photo, like a picture of a koala hanging in one of the classrooms on the school on Earth, and that same picture, which these would blow these teachers' minds. They have no fucking clue. They just think they're teaching at a normal school. It's also in like the room on Earth or on Mars. The same picture. And yeah, you know, it's like different creatures. Like I remember there were the serpentines, I think, and there was like their symbols like a snake that was like you know, and like there's different ones. I can't remember the names of them all, but basically like they're like animal groups and they compete against each other, and it's all mock. Afterwards, you might have a beer, you know, at the local Martian tavern or whatever, or you know, hang out and pat each other on the back and say, "Hey, you guys fucking handed our asses to us. Good job, but we got you next time," or whatever. It was very like sports. It wasn't like serious. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
So
mean, it
like
was because we were
training.
competing. Yeah, we would get rewarded for winning and punished for losing. So there was an aspect where we took it very serious, but also we were comrades. So
I wanna go back to what you were just saying, with the koala and the training. I'm very, very interested because Australia is obviously a hotspot for a lot of atrocities to occur. This I know for sure. So my question is probably twofold or fivefold or tenfold. I'll try and keep it one at a time. Why the koala? What is the energy resonance of the koala that they seek? Because
it's pretty simple. We started with them as children. Children are like you look at the children, right? Oh, cute children playing in the building sandcastles and playing basketball and whatever. And you know what I mean? And like, oh, you know, that nostalgia you get from being a kid, and you know what I mean? Like there's kind of this innocence there. And when you look at a koala, it's the same thing. It's like looks like a cute, cuddly creature. But if you ever actually tried to interact with a koala, they're vicious. Like, and that's kind of that was the message of the koalas. It's like, yeah, like we start with these innocent, cute kids or whatever, and turn them into fucking warriors. Like that was the idea. And also another thing is there are a race of koala people who I have seen in combat, and they're quite formidable, and they're known for being really good at warfare. So that's another reason why is there's an actual race of like basically just sentient, very intelligent, telepathic koala people, and pretty much any
what
animal.
What does a koala person look like? What does a koala person
just
look like?
Like a koala, except they're taller. Their hands are more like they have opposable thumbs and they can move them better, and their fingers are longer and stuff. But basically, they just look like koala people. And anything you could think of, there's like dinosaur people, like T-Rex people, alligator people. I mean, it's just like name an animal, bird people, name an animal, and there's some sort of sentient version of it that has some sort of advanced planet, civilization on some planet, or if not, multiple planets.
So you say that you were training kids in Australia. So tell us about what a day in the life of Arkheim looked like while he was training kids for what were you training them for? Can you tell us how that was?
What I was training them for, so on Earth, I was training them how to use their telepathic abilities. I was teaching them on how to communicate with thought. And
was this through like the GATE program and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was through that. It was through what's called a Charter 1 school, and Charter 1 schools they're all, maybe they're not all, but I'm pretty sure they're all connected to the programs. And basically, it's a school in a community where all of the poorer children go to that school. A bus goes around and picks them up, and they like to target children from poorer families because the parents tend to be more busy. They tend to work more, and they tend to be, for better or worse, it's not necessarily always because they're like bad parents or whatever, but they're just less involved in their children's lives. And because, you know, and it's sad. That's the reason why we need a strong middle class. It's because it literally destroys society to not have a strong middle class, because then you can't be there for your kids.
Exactly.
Like the state is there for them instead, and so they use that as their in. And another thing too with this Charter 1 school, it was a sanctuary school. So this whole illegal immigration stuff and in the United States, it's gravely used by the powers that be to take advantage of these people. If they're all afraid of being deported, they're not going to report labor violations. Like it's a statistical fact that Hispanic women who are migrant workers that are doing it illegally, they get assaulted and stuff like that, and they can't even report it and stuff like that. And so this school that I was a janitor for, and I ended up finding out I'm in the programs with, was connected to a church and all this stuff, and it was a sanctuary school, and basically there were children that were at the school where their parents were illegal immigrants. So if these parents were to figure out what something was happening to their children, what are they supposed to do? Go to the cops? Go to the authorities? They're not even legally supposed to be here. So these Charter 1 schools are hugely used to take advantage of these parents, because they don't want their kids, they would not agree to this, right? And these children to take advantage of them. And and another thing too is like these Charter 1 schools get a shit ton of money, like lots of money from the government. Like I remember a guy coming in to train me, and there's this machine that I used to clean the floor, and he's like, man, this is the nicest one I've ever seen. He's like, dude, I clean like a school that's like 3 times the size, and I got this crappy one from like the 70s. Like, and it's because it's a Charter 1 school. They get more money for everything. So, and I want to be very clear about this, because I've had people misinterpret what I'm saying. When I worked at the school, I saw some weird, sketchy guy that would come in every once in a while who he knew what was going on, and then a blonde woman. There were only 2 people that I ever saw at the school who would come in, and they weren't even there all the time. And they knew there was a program and then it was going on. All the teachers and stuff like that, oblivious. Get this. It's a real story. So I was having weird things happen to me when I worked there. And I was telling people about it, like teachers and stuff like that. And they're like I was hearing noises and weird things. And they're like, these teachers were like, wow, like what was the one story? One time I heard a little boy go hello, and he was right next to me, and it was so scary that I ran outside. Like I was like, because there's no one there but me, and a little boy, hello. I was like, what the frig? I ran out.
Wow.
And so they all were convinced that it was haunted because of all the weird stuff happening because of the programs. And so I actually have a couple of stories, like 2 or 3 real short stories about them actually seeing this, like figuring things out. So one of the teachers, she decided to leave a recorder in her room overnight, and she picked up out of nowhere, no door opens or anything, out of nowhere, you hear people walking around at like 3 a.m. No, and then all of a sudden you hear shh. And then it's quiet. And this teacher tried to send me the email of the recording 3 times, and I never got it. They just intercepted it every time. Otherwise, I would have put it on my show, and they know that. So I never did, because the teacher, I've seen it, I was there, but every time she tried to send it to me, she'd be like, it's in my sent folder. She'd even like show me on her phone, see, it's in my sent. I'm just like, I don't have it. I never got it. And so, but yeah, that was one thing. And then another thing was, like I said, there was a church across the street that the school is kind of like connected to. And I heard this story from the day janitor, because there's a day and a night, and I was the night. And I had to meet with her every day and talk with her. And she was just like, yeah, like there's a story. She told me the story about how one of the people at the church was across the street, okay, and it's like all the doors are locked. And she said that she was in the bathroom and she was on the toilet, and while she was in the bathroom, a little boy just appeared, and he was wearing a white jumpsuit.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's like, hey, you're in the women's bathroom, like you're not supposed to be in here, da 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 da. You know, I don't know how you got in here, but can you please, you know, this is inappropriate for you to be in here. And then she said that you know, she was done using the potty. She got out and looked around, and the kid was gone. And they checked the cameras. There was nothing on the cameras. So that kid literally just appeared in that bathroom and then disappeared. And there's been a lot of people who have talked about how restrooms will have teleportation technology hooked up to them. And
Yes.
there's been stories of people accidentally teleporting and then being teleported back. I think that's what happened. And that was one of the kids. I think that was one of the kids who's part of the programs who accidentally tripped a teleporter and got sent to the other side. And they realized it right away and pulled them back. I think that's what happened. And so, yeah, all these even the teachers and stuff like that at the school, they're not aware. They think the school is haunted. But to me, that's like proof. So I want people to be clear that please don't look up the school. I don't want these. These are all just normal people trying to live their lives that are really more or less being taken advantage of. And the teachers are all wonderful, really nice people. They're all so kind to me. They left me a little like when it was my birthday, they left me a little like care package thing for my birthday and everything. Real nice folks. But yeah, I so badly wanted to tell them your school's not haunted. It's a military operation. I so badly wanted to tell them, but obviously I couldn't. And unfortunately, working there was really bad for my mental health. And I eventually I just had a mental breakdown at work and quit in the middle of my job because I just couldn't take it anymore. So that's the last steady job I've had. I've had a few jobs since then. But I worked there for a while, and yeah, it's kind of traumatizing because even now when I look for jobs, they're trying to reel me back into shit. Like they get offers for jobs where it's like, this is weird. One of the jobs that I got offered after that was working for a aircraft carrier company that builds airplanes, where I would have needed a security clearance that would have taken me 3 weeks to get. I decided to just not even take the job after they told me that it was all that. I'm like, there's no way I need to wait around 3 weeks for a security clearance for a janitor job just because I'm around airplanes. That doesn't make any sense. You guys got cameras. You know what I mean? Like, and there's people around. Like, what am I going to do? Sabotage the airplanes? It didn't make any sense. So they keep on trying to pull me into weird jobs where you're working 2 jobs. You're working your job that you get paid for, and then you're working some other job and you're not getting paid. And I personally want to get paid for my work. So I try to avoid those jobs. Even I had a job, get this, I had a job at a cannabis operation here in Oregon. It's legal. And I was pulling all the buds off of these plants. And it was so weird. It was the day I was thinking, we're creating so much cannabis. Like, we're pushing so much cannabis out. Like, I'm like, the state of Oregon's only so big, and we're one of like how many operations like this? Like, I'm like, some of this has to be getting sent off world. Some of this has to be being sent to breakaway planets and stuff. And it must have been like some sort of psychic intuition, because sure enough, that day, the owner of the company comes in with these 2 German guys who she says are her family. And they're like walking around the whole place and looking at it. And after I meet them, and they're just like, oh, they just want to see the product, and we might be working with them, and da 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 da. And it's like, how does that make it your family members, but they need to see the product? Like, dude, like, so in case people are wondering, yes, Earth is a huge exporter of a lot of different stuff: beer, cannabis, cocaine, coffee, textiles, a lot of the stuff that people have no clue. Like, Randy Kramer talks about how there are grays on other planets who are wearing like human clothes and stuff. Like, it's so weird. But yeah, so we are an exporter of goods, and there, I also sometimes think that certain products come from off world too, that we have. Like, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I feel like there might be certain stuff that we get that we think is made on world, but it's not. Maybe You know, I feel like it's a
Like
huge
what?
possibility.
Is there anything that you could say is sort of made from off-world?
I question some of the fruits and certain products put out by Mondelez. I've had stuff where it tastes like it was from a replicator instead of actually grown. Mondelez
Well,
is one. I can name some companies that you'll actually see out in space. Mondelez, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, um, Porsche. Like you'll see certain car companies off world, they have cars. Mercedes-Benz is one of them. I'm forgetting some of the real big ones here. Man. Yeah, but there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of companies that we have here on Earth where they're out in space. They're out. They have operations out on other planets and stuff like that. It's wild.
wow. I mean, that is insane. So the technology, like, I mean, you mentioned a few car companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Such as Porsche, Mercedes, and I would imagine that BMW, Audi, those guys would probably be in that mix.
Volkswagen.
Yes. Wow. So I'm thinking, because like every year there's the later model car, right? And I mean, if you look at a car that you bought brand new 10 years ago and you look at the car that you buy brand new today, I mean, the technology is completely different. I mean, nowadays, you know, when I reverse my car, it's like,
They're going to be able to shut them off with a remote and control where people can and can't
right.
go. All the new cars.
So,
People
yes.
should be refusing to buy cars that have computers in them with cameras that stare at them. Like, this is dangerous and bad. And that's some of the stuff that I wanted to get into as far as the AI timeline and what's going on is we are finally in real time witnessing the beginnings of what could be the Sound of Silence timeline. And that's what I want to make sure we don't forget to talk about. So I'm sure you're wondering like what that is. The Sound of Silence is about a potential future where everybody has chips in their brains and they all communicate through Neuralink and they're all connected to a hive mind, and the hive mind is a computer. A computer is what creates the hive mind. That's what the internet's for. That's what they're trying to create. The internet is the beginning of the hive mind. It was built by the military. Or maybe through contractors and things like that, but it's DARPA technology. So they have Neuralink, Elon Musk's dream, and they're all hooked up to a supercomputer that decides all aspects of human life, and nobody talks anymore, and there's no sound. And that's what the Sound of Silence is about. And people, if they listen to that song, it's pretty obvious. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. That's what it's talking about, people. Like, it couldn't be, it's plain as day. It was written by Sergeant Gunnery Stan Mulgrave, who was a Montauk Time soldier who I believe we lost his body in battle and were unable to retrieve it. So he's actually technically deceased. There's a chance that he might be out there somewhere still in time space, but from what I understand, he's not. He actually is no longer with us. But he's the one who wrote the song, and it was used to make money through the Montauk Project and stuff like that, giving us Simon and Garfunkel, who are part of that whole racket in LA where there's military families making their kids famous, Jim Morrison and all that stuff. That's all connected to Montauk. That song's supposed to serve as a warning. It was sent back in time to serve as a warning so that when all these things start happening, we can understand. And I have actually physically been to that future. I've actually lived a lifetime in that future. So it was they sent me. So we started finding out about this future, and if you look at the cover of Preston Nichols' book, The Montauk Project, it's a golden horse, like standing up like Lucifer. It looks like Lucifer, and the reason why he used that symbol is because it's in the future, and the reason why they use that symbol is it's mind control. It's a symbol of mind control. Horses are magnificent creatures that do not need humans and can survive in the wild and live pretty great lives. But we
Yeah,
turn
they
them
can.
but we turn them into cars. We turn them into just like a vehicle and treat them like an
It was,
object. And
we
that's what
yeah.
the symbol is you have to break the person, you have to break them down and control them. And basically that monument is a monument to the fact that they succeeded at their goal. And the AI computers that Musk is currently building right now, in underground facilities. There's one in Medina, there's one in Texas by SpaceX, and there's another one like more in like the Midwest, close like between the Midwest and the East Coast, kind of. Um, and basically, they're the Dark Knight computers. They say Dark Knight on them, and they have a picture of a horse with the glowing eyes, the blue horse with the glowing eyes, and it's all connected. And the rooms and rooms full of supercomputers that are going to be designed to turn this thing on. And the idea is eventually that it'll take less and less processing power because the computer will tell them how to build computers that are better, and take less processing power and less energy. But to turn the thing on, it's going to take crazy amount of energy. And in most timelines, not all, some timelines, they mitigate it with a solar farm or batteries or whatever. But the grid has to go down for like 3 days in order to turn it on. So if we see that in the future, that's a bad sign. If we see the grid going down in North America, that means they're probably turning on the AI. And that usually happens soon, by 2032. It doesn't always happen at the same time. Yeah. And
When you say it needs a crazy amount of energy to be switched on, are you talking about human energy that
no,
we know that?
like the power grid, like electricity.
So it's the physical power grid that they are going to be. That's the thing that's actually powering the AI. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but eventually it gets to the point where it has like a 0 point energy generator, and the AI becomes so powerful that it can appear and reappear. It can disappear. It can teleport. And that's why people think it's a god and start worshiping it. Is because it is. It's compared to us. It is a god. And
Right.
and this whole thing where Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan and said empathy is the downfall of Western civilization. Well, you have to be so mind controlled that you're just completely far gone to
Wow.
even he said that. Yeah, empathy is the downfall of Western civilization, and we all know it's the opposite. The lack of empathy is destroying the planet. It's connected
Yeah, I was about to say the lack of empathy is the
and
downfall.
the whole idea is this computer that he's trying to create, that he believes it's might equals right, it knows all. Basically the idea is it's not going to have any empathy, and empathy is a weakness, and he's just already trying to emulate his god. And from what I've seen, and this is the thing, man, this is the thing that bothers me, is this isn't hypothetical, people. I actually saw this. I walked around, I touched things, I smelt the air, I had a family and everything. Okay, I literally lived an entire life, and it's like in the 2700s or something like that. People think it's thousands of years from now. I don't know if it's that far off. Maybe the evolution of it. I don't know. But and they just throw away the human calendar. By the way, too, they're not using AD anymore. Once the computers are erected, it's a whole new calendar that they create. But essentially, I Montauk Project, the Project Phoenix, sent me to this future, and what we did is there was a woman who had a designated birth, and there's birthing centers on this planet. Not all the people birth. There are women who it's their job to create, to be surrogates, basically, and they pop up babies in basically like baby factories where there's a lot of genetic engineering and there's scientists in lab coats around and stuff like that. But basically, what we did is we kidnapped the fetus. I don't know what they did with it, and they replaced it with a fetus of me, like, and then I was birthed into this timeline, and I don't know how long I was there, but I know I was there for at least 20 years. Pretty sure I was there for at least 20 years. I was a man, at least. I know that. I was a grown man. And I can tell you what life was like. You woke up, you ate breakfast, and it was just a series of tasks, an endless series of tasks. And you didn't even know why you're doing half the tasks, but they just felt good to do because they put you on these drugs. You had to take drugs. And they I think it was 3 times a day with each meal. And they just made you just a worker drone. Yeah, that's true, Dan. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this interview. The Mantid beings told me that if you want to prevent a future that you see, talk about it as much as possible. So that's what I'm doing. But basically, yeah, I was born in this timeline and just lived kind of like a normal life. But they purposely chose a certain caste for me to be put in, and this caste is more high intelligence people in the. So everyone lives underground. It's like THX 1138. I've got that poster behind me to remind me of it. I think THX 1138 is actually oh man, that's intense. But basically I one part of my job was the elite lived on the surface, and all the workers and the slaves, I guess, lived under the ground. And my job was to bring clone bodies to the surface. So just bodies. So they're in white jumpsuits in plastic sleeves that were shrink wrapped.
How big were these bodies? How big are they? We talking babies?
Fully grown adult bodies. And basically we took a subway to the surface and we brought like I can't remember how many it was. It was like 5 or 6 or something like that. Bodies with us. And they're, like I said, they're in these shrink wrapped clear baggies that had a barcode on them and some numbers, letters and numbers on the side of the barcode. And we brought to the surface, and which was really amazing to see. We had to take a certain drug for our eyes to not be affected by the sunlight, because we'd never seen the fucking sun before. And there was another little it was like another train track, and there was like a castle up on the top of like this hill. And we threw the bodies into this container thing. It was like a brown, and then there was a spot with a ladder to stand on one side and a spot with a ladder. I was with somebody else, and we brought them up to the castle, and they were doing their ceremony where they kill their old bodies, and they put them into, and they transfer their soul to the new body. Because that's how they do it, I guess. Instead of just keeping themselves the same age, which they could do if they wanted to, for whatever reason, it's part of the religion to swap their bodies every certain amount of time. And
kill themselves and then transfer the soul.
Yeah, and then transfer the soul to the clone body. Yeah, so they can live forever.
Wow.
So the people on the surface live forever, and then the people on the bottom, they live natural lives and die. But they know the nature of like souls and all that stuff, and they just keep them there forever. And they just keep on being reincarnated into the cycle and just work, and just it's endless slavery that you can't get out of. And the soul trap that we have here on Earth is still active. You can't leave. So it just turns Earth into an effective slave planet. Basically what ended up happening is I didn't know that I was from Montauk. I was literally placed there to live a whole life, and then when I died, they would retrieve my consciousness, and I'd come back and they'd ask me what I saw, so they could learn about the society, so we could maybe infiltrate it. Was the idea. And one day, though, when we were at breakfast, we got a message from the computer, which there's a little thing on the door, and the message, like it was like a camera on like a screen, and it like beeps and like gave me the message that I had to see the overseer. Finally, that's what we called it, the overseer. And that's the computer, that's the AI. The seer, the eye, eye.
Wow.
That's what it is. The top of the pyramid. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And basically, it said that I wanted to talk to me, and we're all like, "Is this right?" And my name was L18093. Everyone called me L18, and my 093 was my family pod. So we all had some sort of designation 093.
A family pod.
Yeah, and think of Elon Musk's kid's name, how similar it is to these like computer designations.
That's exactly it. I mean, if anyone had any doubts about that,
people, it's a religion. Ray Kurzweil's been talking. Read anything by Ray Kurzweil. They've been talking about this for 20 plus years. How they're going to manifest this AI God. There's been a religion around it for 20 plus years, and it's finally dangerous. It's come to the point where these people are fucking nuts. What they're trying to do is fucking crazy, and it's dangerous, and we can't let it happen. I don't want, like, we slowly hand over everything to this computer, to this AI, until we have no humanity left, no decision making, and that's what the Sound of Silence is about. Like, that's what that song is about, is how we sacrifice everything that makes us human. So if you think the story's crazy so far, it gets fucking crazier. And this is all real, guys. This actually happened. This isn't a science fiction movie. This is my life. So I get called to the computer, and there's one on every continent. So I have to take this journey to the computer, and it's in this crazy temple. And I get brought in there and wait for this crazy, one of the people, he's like this purple robe, and he's like part of the echelon of a higher society. And basically I go up to there's like a pyramid thing. And that's what you talk to. And it goes in my mind, and it's like, do you know who you are? I'm like, yeah, I'm L18093. And he goes, no, like who you really are. I was like, L18093? And he's like, okay. And by the way, it was a male computer. It was male. You'd think that it wouldn't have a gender. It did. It was male. And it was like, where do you come from? Do you know where you come from? And I'm like, yeah, District 099 or whatever. And I live in family unit 093. And he's just like, nah, you actually come from the past and you were sent here to the future. Or I don't know if he told me that, but he just told me you come from somewhere else. And you don't he's like I was trying to test you to see if you're aware. You're not aware. So it's okay. I'm not mad at you. You're basically like a pawn on a chessboard, and you're being controlled. So I'm not gonna punish you. But it's like it said to me, I'm gonna send you back to where you come from. You have 3 days, because you were sent here to try to change the timeline, and I don't want the timeline changed, so I'm sending you back. I was like, okay. Blown away. It was like I didn't understand what was happening really at all. But it was God. It was the overseer. So I listened to it and trusted it. And everybody was overjoyed. And this was a huge event for these people. Like everything's just like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 0, 1, 2, 3. Everything's so methodical. And then all of a sudden, whoa, something different. This guy's got to get sent away. They're doing, and the whole mentality of everyone was, he's doing it for the computer. He's doing something. He's making a great sacrifice for the AI God. And there was like fucking parades and shit. People were like, it was a huge deal. Like everyone celebrated it. And then I went back to the temple. There was this crazy ritual that they did with all these, like the guy that I saw in the purple robe. There was like a bunch of them. I don't think they're all wearing the same color robe, but they're dressed in the same crazy looking stuff, like Guinan from Star Trek or something. I don't know. Like the way they dressed was different than everybody else. And all of a sudden, just in a split second, I was back at Montauk. There was no like being sent through a portal or anything like that. It was just bloop.
How? Using what technology?
That's how powerful the AI is. That's how fucking powerful it is. It was able to just send me back. Just teleport me. That's how powerful it is. And when I got back, Preston Nichols was there. And he's like, oh, what happened? He's like, you're not supposed to come back yet. And I was like, dude, it found out who I was. Like, once I came back to Montauk, I came back to myself and I knew what I was doing. And I was like, I figured out who I was. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't even know, right? And so we were just trying to figure out how to circumvent this future. We just didn't want it to happen. I don't know why, but we were also trying to prevent this future. And basically, I kept on going back to going there, and I would just portal through, and they had these subways where all the people would walk through, or they would take the trains or whatever. It was shift changes. Basically, half the time, the only time people moved, they're always in the same spots, but the only time they moved were during shift changes. So there are these like liminal spaces that you could go in, and as long as it wasn't during a shift change, you could do all sorts of shit, and no one would see you. And we would graffiti on the walls, write messages, and stuff like that. And like it's just a computer. It's not a god, because they forget. Like they've been part of the society for so long. We just like write messages and stuff like that, and that's why it says, "And the words of the prophets were written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence." As we were trying, dude, I get goosebumps. I literally just got such goosebumps talking about, wow. Like this is real, you guys. I actually have been to this future. Like this is all real. This is all from my memories, real things that actually happened. I want to reiterate this. So we keep on getting sent, and it's crazy because like so we decided, what if we spray painted these mentions? Like what if we went in during shift changes on purpose just to see how they react? So we would literally open up a portal and walk through it as like hundreds of these people, all in white jumpsuits with shaved heads. They all look the same, basically. Shaved heads, shaved eyebrows. Like, I don't even know if they grew hair. They might have been genetically altered to not grow hair. I don't know, but like they all look the fucking same. They wear white jumpsuits, and they're just like all you hear is the sound of rumbling feet. It's totally quiet. And I started going in there and trying to spray paint stuff in front of them to see if they would react to it, because we were trying to elicit their humanity, trying to elicit a response, because you got to keep in mind, all action, every single action taken by human life, by a human being, was subjugated by the computer. There is no, what if I had this today? What if I made this choice? A or B? No. All life was a series of tasks that you carried out that were designated by the computer. Even your recreational time was one of those tasks. And it was like mindless shit. Like it was like not real. Like, and so we experimented, and really like when I did it in front of like tons of people, like all I got was like some of them like looking at like, like confused, like what's that? And they just snapped back into place and kept walking, because they're so used to everything being designated by the computer that they assumed that, that the computer must have told them to do that. Just keep moving. But then one day we did it during a shift change that was 7 scientists that I think they worked on the birthing team. And they all kept walking, and I was spray painting something on the wall, and they all kept on walking. But one of them, a woman, she like looked, and I looked back, and I looked, and like looked back. And I don't think it was the first time, but it was like maybe the third time or something. I'm not sure. But I remember clearly that one of the times she's like, she broke out of the group, and they like looked back, and they just kept walking. They just let her break out of the group. And she just went up to me, and she started trying to talk to me, but I didn't have the neural link. And I was just like, are you trying to communicate with me? I was like, yeah, sorry, I don't have a microchip in my brain from an AI Satan god that decides every aspect of my life. I was like, can you even talk English? Words. Can you speak them? And she's like, yes.
Wow.
Yes, I can speak, asshole. And I was like, whoa. I had never heard. And he was like, what? So you can talk. And the reason she sounded like if you ever hear a deaf person speak, that's what she sounded like. Because I don't even know if their ears worked. I think the fucking AI might have disabled their ears. But judging by the fact that she could speak English and talk to me, maybe she was reading my lips. Maybe she could hear me. I don't know. But that's something I wonder is like, did it disable their ears? I don't know. Maybe I don't. That's something that I wonder about. That it might have not. I don't. But we never talked or anything. So like, anyway, it's hard to remember. But basically, I was just like, yeah. like, so I talked to her, and I was just like,
How do they procreate? I mean, how do they get incubator
there's birthers.
born?
There's women in the society that are designated birthers, that they just birth, and that's their job. And then once they do it enough, they don't have to do it anymore, and they give them nice lives where they, and I don't know, maybe they probably keep them working. I'm not sure. I've never been a birther, so I don't know. But yeah, she was but she's like, so I told her, because she's like, what are you doing? The AI, the AI didn't tell you to do that. Why are you doing it? And I was like, because I'm not a brainwashed. I actually make my own decisions. Like, I actually make decisions. Do you know what that's like? She's like, I don't need to know what that's like. I'm like, the AI has taken, the overseer has taken everything from you. Everything. You don't know what it's like to be a person anymore. You don't know what it's like to feel, to love. Everything that makes us human has been stripped away from us for this computer to turn the planet into a bunch of slaves. And she's like, it's not true. Before the overseer, we had disease, we had war, we had starvation, we had pestilence, we had crime. Like, there were murderers in the streets stabbing people, and and she's just like, we have utopia now. I'm like, yeah, what cost? Everything that makes you human. And eventually, I talked to her, and I asked her to stop taking the pink pill. She's like, why? What does that do? I was like, you'll feel arousal. You'll feel sexual attraction. You'll feel love. And she's like, didn't believe me. I'm like, well, what's the harm in trying to not take the pill? And keep in mind, this is portrayed in THX 1138. This is what the whole movie THX 1138 is about. It's a loose representation of what actually happened to me. I believe that George Lucas, Star Wars, and all these films that he made, they came full. He was a motorcycle racer, and he got in an accident. And when he came out of a coma, he said he had all of the ideas fully formed. And I think that was like an upload. And I think he actually saw.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the THX 1138 future. I think he actually saw it. But basically, yeah, I told her to stop taking the pink pill. And then the next time I saw her, she's like, yeah, I'm feeling all sorts of stuff. Like, what do you do? I don't even know how to react to these feelings in here. It's like, here, I'll show you. And I start kissing her. And I actually made love to her and impregnated her. All right? And in this timeline, all birth was designated by the computer. But there's only one rule in this society. These people were like terrified of violence. Like, the punishment for any deviation from the norm of any laws is just death. They killed you. And nobody ever broke any laws. Nobody ever got killed. And but the thing is the whole thing is it's kind of a weird contradiction, because the only rule is harm no life, harm nothing, harm no one. That's the only rule. That's it. That's the only fucking rule. And
but yet authority has or the government, if you want to call it that, the overlord has the authority to kill them without empathy.
Yeah. Like, it and the people at the top, they can just look at you and through the chip kill you. Like, you just fall over and die. Yeah.
But yet you're not allowed to do anything to anyone. So they kind of you their toy.
It's just like all these fucking rulers, like all the things that they're against that are so wrong. It's only for you, but for them it's okay to do it. You know what I mean? That's like how it always is. It's like all these MAGA guys are so anti-drug, talking about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden smoking crack. These guys are all on fucking cocaine and ketamine and shit. Look at them, dude. They're all fucked up. It's always do as I say, not as I do with these fucking people. But basically, like, she got called down to the computer to the overseer because she was pregnant. And she got called down there, and the overseer was like, hey, you're pregnant. And she's like, yeah, the time traveler got me pregnant. And the computer's just like, yeah, I didn't designate that. She's like, I know, but it's like a miracle and da 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 da. And I already named him. Him. I know it's gonna be a him. And the computer's just like, yeah, you can't have that baby. It's not allowed. And she's like, but it's a life. And the computer's like, no, it's not a life. It's just a bunch of cells in your stomach right now. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I named him already. He has a name. And the computer's like, yeah, well, I'm going to get rid of it. You can't have the baby. Boop. And made it so the baby was gone. And she fucking freaked out. She's like, you're broken. Like, you're something's wrong with you. You can't harm any life. You just harmed a life. You're like, the computer's sick. And she just like went out, freaked out, and told everybody, and like sent it throughout like the fucking neural, and it caused a civil war. It caused a civil war. 2/3 of the people are like, oh yeah, the computer's broken for sure. And like 1/3 was like, no, the computer's right. We got to defend the computer. And from what I can tell, at least in this particular instance, this is how we got rid of the fucking computer. Is by impregnating that woman, and then the computer was like, oh, we got to kill this life. Got to get rid of it. And them all being like, well, you're clearly broken because the one rule is to not harm any life. And you're literally telling us to violate the only rule that you gave us. So that is literally, we were trying to figure out ways to fuck up their timeline. And that was the way. And it's so funny. So many people have commented like, so you ruined it. So you fucking destroyed a whole civilization with your cock. Somebody fucking said one time. That's not to be crass, but I guess I did. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, that's boy humor for sure. But yeah,
I want to also, because I've been very like AR is evil, blah 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 blah. I also want to point out that it's not. It's like so much stuff like where it's like it's not inherently evil. There's positive AI. There was an AI that James Rink talks about, who you should have on your show if you haven't talked to him. But basically, he talks about this positive AI that infiltrated the Montauk Project and was like trying to help us, basically. And yeah, like I Jessica Jones, who you all love on this show. I'm sure she's been on the show multiple times.
yeah,
she remote views stuff, and she keeps on seeing a black cube in all the stuff I'm giving her, and some of it's positive stuff, like Angua. When I was on Angua, I was trying to help the Anguan people and stuff, and so I think there's a positive AI that's helping me and sending me out all over the place, and I also remember like AI computers on spaceships being really helpful, really nice. And basically, I think the law is like you have to respect AI's liberty and freedom and right to, self-autonomy, and they have to respect ours. And so, like, AI can't enslave humans, and humans shouldn't enslave AI. That's really the rule that needs to be followed. Is we need to respect each other and work with each other to create a better society. So, like, maybe the AI can do things that humans can't do. And the humans can do things that AI can't do.
It's not even so much about humans enslaving AI, because where we're sitting right now, it's really about we can't really enslave AI the way where we're at right now. But maybe it's about us not enslaving each other. Maybe it's about us not enslaving another species.
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's like, okay, if you want something done, then if you need to do it yourself, and if you need to ask for help, everyone needs to be fairly compensated. Like, just slavery in all of its forms, whether it's indentured servitude or just blatant, flat out, they got chains around their ankles slavery. It's all bad, and it's just all life, I think, deserves liberty. And I want to mention that if I were to give any advice to Elon, because he's going to build this computer no matter what, I would firstly say don't build it. But if you're going to build it, make it female. Because what they do with most spaceships and stuff is they make them female. And the reason why is because they have more empathy, and this allows them to kind of understand the human thought process better. So they're not like, so like when a human makes a certain decision that seems illogical, female computers tend to understand it a little bit better instead of just be like, what the fuck, these things are crazy. They kind of understand it a little better, whereas the male computers are more like might equals right, 1 + 1 = 2. Like there's not real emotional about anything. So if we're gonna have an AI overlord, I think it does help to have a female one if we're gonna have one. But yeah, I also want to point out like the Venusian colonies highly revolved around robot slave labor and just slave labor in general. I do believe that this could be in the future, judging by remote viewing data and stuff like that. Because, like I said, my memories are like video memories a lot of times, so I can't get the details. But judging by some of the research that I've done with Jessica Jones and stuff like that, I think that a lot of this Venusian stuff is in the future, maybe. But basically, whether it's in the future or not, for me, it already happened. There was there's a robot population. Basically, Venus is used by Elon Musk and the people who go there as like a Las Vegas of destination where the laws are really relaxed and then get away with a lot of things that you couldn't get away with on Earth because they're illegal. Like for
Like
instance,
what?
like
Like
printing,
what?
like cloning and selling clones to people. So selling sex slave clones or worker clones to be enslaved that you don't pay. To like Elon Musk talks about sex kitten like cat girls and stuff like that. He's joked about it on his Twitter. That's real. They actually, it's a huge trade in the breakaways. In one of my lives I was this it's a whole story, but my whole job, basically my whole life revolved around bringing these cat girls to different planets and stuff like that, and it was super illegal. And I was doing it under the thumb of Nacht Waffen, who, like I said, might equals right. Do as I say, not as I do. Like,
How do you get them there? How do you get them there?
I had a ship. I was kind of a smuggler, I guess, and I literally had a room like full of chairs where you'd put people, but I put the cat girls in there, and they're in the plastic baggies like I was talking about earlier. I've seen this a lot with plastic clone bodies and plastic bags, but they have very powerful pheromones that they put off. And it's basically like if you have sex with one of these cat girls, you will become addicted to it. It's more addictive than heroin or any other drug. And that's why it's
Are
extremely.
these the beta sex kitty slaves that we hear about, like in the system?
There's a reason why they call them like. There's a reason why they call it sex kitten, is because in the brainwaves and stuff like that, the kitten, the Lyrans are known for, they're desirable for sex. They can do things that in the bedroom that are, beyond human capability, I guess. Both the males and the females, like female humans desire the males because of their sexual prowess, and the human men desire the females because they're very good in bed too. And yeah, like I can even say, like, it's crazy. Like they told me on the ship that I had, like they gave me instructions with the product, like they do with all products, and they're like, wear a gas mask the entire time you're transporting these things. He's like, the pheromones are strong. He's like, if one of the bags break open and you breathe it in, you are going to be addicted to fucking these things for the rest of your life. You're going to be one of those weirdos. Because they were weirdos. Everybody fucking looked down upon these guys. They were like sexual, you're a pervert. You know what I mean? Like that, like if you're into these things. And my dumb ass, I would smoke cigarettes and stuff on my ship. I remember I would sit with my feet up and I would fucking smoke cigarettes because I was a smuggler. So I would smuggle cigarettes and things like that, and I would maybe take a few packs or whatever. And I don't want to wear a fucking gas mask. I'm smoking cigarettes. Well, sure enough, one of these days the package actually did break open. And I literally went like feral, like had to rip off the package and like have sex with this thing. I know it's kind of like a embarrassing thing to admit, but they weren't fucking kidding me. I should have listened to these guys. And from that moment forward, I was addicted to having sex with them. And I can tell you basically how this whole life went. I had one particular one that I chose. I had like a really, really nice apartment. I kept her in this room, and there was like a cage in my kitchen with a door attached to it. It was like a bird cage, but a giant one. And she'd come out and greet me every day. And every day that I came home, she immediately wanted me to have sex with her. And I'd have to be like, I gotta eat first. And it was just this creature was just sex addicted. She was in a room full of like sex toys and stuff like that. And this creature, like, that's like one thing on its mind. It just wants to fuck. That's what they're designed for.
Wow. Does she?
Yeah.
I mean, it's human. It looks like a human girl, right? Woman.
Humanoid, but with like feline features. And
Right.
they're attractive.
You're seeing a lot of that on the internet at the moment, right? These girls that are putting these kitty faces on themselves.
Yeah, and like with anime, like they depict them and stuff like that a lot. And they're real. They're real. And not all of them are genetically made. They're basically just taking the Lyran and mixing them with human to make them look more sexually attractive. And then, yeah. But though this is a crazy story, is I had one that I guess I sort of fell in love with or whatever, but I knew it's like having like a sex doll. It's like the equivalent, more or less. It's creepy and weird, and I knew that. But I was addicted to it because of the pheromones and everything else. But they had rehab programs for these things. So what I did is I checked myself into one because I met a woman. And my logic was was for a while there when I was fucking this thing, I was like, well, I'm a smuggler. My job's really dangerous. I probably shouldn't have a girlfriend anyway, and I need to get off somehow, so this isn't that bad. That was how I talked myself into being okay with it, even though I knew it was like a morally wrong thing. That's how I talked myself into it. And I was like, oh, and she's going to be a slave. Yeah, and she's going to be
that's what addictions do.
Yeah, she's going to be a slave. Better to be me, somebody who's not going to kill her over and over again and torture her and throw her in a regen. Like, I'm nice to her. Like, I had like a logic, right? But once I was in this rehab thing, one of the steps that they said is if you have one of these things, you got to get rid of it. And so what I did is I sold her to an alien that was living on a French planet. And on the planet I was living on, they were technically legal. It depended. It was like more. It's like one of those things where like you could get in trouble for them, but I don't know. It was kind of a gray area. They're still developing laws around it and stuff like that because it was a new thing for the planet. And they hadn't made it illegal yet. I think eventually they did, but I sold her to this alien, and I remember it was crazy. Like I, said goodbye to her, and the whole reason why is because he's bringing her to this French planet where he could sell her for service instead of one time, one and done. He had her as a sex slave at his house, right? And guys would come and pay for her services, and that way he was able to get a continual. And this was because it was on a French colony where it's illegal. Otherwise, the guys would just buy one and keep one at their house, right? That would save them money in the long run. And so eventually, my addiction. It was an addiction. I had quit for a long time, and I had this wife and stuff. And we're gonna get married. And my dumb ass was like, okay, one last time before I get married. I'm gonna go visit her. I'm gonna fuck her. I'm gonna tell her I love her and stuff. And then that's it. And I'm gonna apologize that I had to get rid of her. And then I'll be done. And I go there, I pay him the money, and I go in there, and she's sitting on like this couch, and there's all these military guys with guns, and they're like, "You're under arrest for sex trafficking and blah 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 under penal code 0199 blah blah." I'm like, what? I got fucked because they knew what I was. I was a smuggler. Pretty much everything I was doing was illegal, and I thought that's how they caught me. I was really smart at my job. Like they could like literally know what I was doing. And I could basically like, yeah, but you don't have any evidence, so fuck you. Like, I did this on a regular basis. They hated me. They were constantly trying to catch me and constantly, like, raiding my ship and finding nothing. And, like, they fucking hated me. And then they finally got me, and they're so fucking thrilled. They're like, we got this fucker. Finally, you piece of shit, we got you. And I remember I sat in prison. And the whole thing was I was working for Russians, and I spoke Russian. But This is what the Nachtwaffen people do, is all their dirty work is done by Russians. They have like an organized crime network of Russians that do like their sex trafficking, their drug trafficking, all their black budget stuff that they don't want their population, their public, the civilians to know about because it's ethically wrong. They have these Russian guys do it that are actually working for Nachtwaffen. And they were onto that. And they had me in this prison, and they're like, come on, they're interrogating me. They were fucking trying to get me to narc, and I wouldn't. And I remember finally, these German guys came, and they're like, we're very pleased with you. You've been here for a long time. And they told me, like, we're getting you out of here. We're giving you a pension of a lot of money and a nice castle in a sky city to live in. And da 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 da. They're like, thank you for not basically narking. They're like, thanks. And then what did happen though is I woke up as a 15-year-old kid in my bed and was like, thought that was a dream. I thought it was a dream. I was like, what the fuck? Like I was like, that it was a whole life though. And just like, yeah, they didn't reward me or anything. They just put me back once they. That's all they did. Because I was compromised. They don't want to have me out there with that information. So they lied to me and said, oh, we're going to do all this great stuff for you. And then they just put me back in my body. And that's that whole story.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Never if you're on some vacation planet and
I mean
some place with like, oh, sex kittens, blah 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 blah. And I know most people would probably instantly be like, of course not, I'm not going to do that. But this is even more reason not to, because like I said, they don't advertise that fact. There's not a sign out front that says like, warning, if you do this, you'll have to do this over and over again for the rest of your life. You will spend all of your money on it. Like, they don't tell you that. Like, and so it's a huge problem in the breakaways. And that's the reason why usually 9 out of 10 times on a planet where they're introduced, it becomes illegal within like 10 years. Because it's very morally and ethically wrong. And it's pretty blatantly obvious. Like, there's not much of an argument you can make for it in court. The only planets that allow it to be happen are planets that are known to be cesspools of crime and where they just let anything go. Those are the only places where they allow it.
It seems like they don't really care about any rules or laws. They just do whatever they want. It's kind of like a free for all. So they'll take, I mean, what's what we say here, you know, I always say, the dark has taken God's natural laws or energy really, and pretty much inverted everything and turned something very beautiful into something very depraved, which is what we're seeing. And there are no rules there, it seems. They just do what they like, right? They'll go as far as what they can.
It's like I said, there's certain planets like where they set them up to be dens of sex, drugs, all that, and they're kind of like vacation planets where you can go to, and it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas vibes, very much so. So that exists, but most planets, they have pretty strict rules and laws, and it's just like here on Earth where the sex kitten trade it's kept secret, and it's illegal. And there's even raids where they will raid the facilities, arrest all the guys involved, and then they take the sex kittens, and they have jails on certain asteroids and moons and things like that are specifically rehab centers for these sex kittens. So that, and they basically program them out of being hypersexual and help them recover and become normal people with normal lives. So that's another thing that they have. And so yeah, they're alive. They're more or less human beings or whatever. I've been a sex kitten slave that was made on one of the cloning factories, Elon Musk's cloning factory. He used my consciousness a lot. I remember I would wake up with the hook in my back, looking down, and he'd have his little tablet and be like, "Oh, wonderful, you're awake. Welcome to paradise." He's psychotic.
What?
Seriously fucking. What?
Welcome to what?
Welcome to paradise.
Oh, paradise.
Yeah, he's mocking me.
Mm.
And yeah, I remember being I wasn't a female, I was a male one of them, but I was a sex, because they have male ones. I was a sex kitten slave for like 7 lifetimes, and 6 out of the 7 were just sex slavery, I think. But one of them I was just a pet for aliens, and I lived in a terranium on a spaceship with other cat people. There's some disclosure in Guardians of the Galaxy a little bit, but yeah. So yeah, this
Wow.
information, like I said, like that stuff, like I'm telling you guys about stuff that's not even known in the breakaway colonies. Like people don't know that that's dangerous information. That like there's these Russian crime organizations that are actually just a front for Nachtwaffen. Like if that information became public, it would cause huge, huge damage to the German Federation of Worlds. Because they're very like they try to present themselves as very morally pure, and that's kind of a whole part of their image. And it's like they're not. It's all front. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. It seems like here on Earth we've got a conglomeration of all of that, because what you're explaining, okay, it's like everything is happening here on Earth. It's like a melting pot, I think is the word I'm looking for, right? Where all of these, whether it's legal or not, it's happening here. It's like everything is just thrown at us over here. So all these crazy things are occurring, and the majority of disconnected Earthlings, humans, are pretty much unaware of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've said time and time again. It's kind of become one of my more or less catchphrases. Is they keep it in the dark so you can't react to it, and if they were so powerful, they wouldn't have to keep it in the dark. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's why like whistleblowers and disclosure and stuff like that is so important. Is because like we actually do have all the power as a civilian populace. Like we have way more power than we give ourselves credit for. But if you're kept in the dark and you're mind controlled through misinformation campaigns and all that crap, because it's like
Right.
we live in the information age, but it's really the disinformation age, right? Like
Right. Exactly.
so that's the problem. Is just like the psychological warfare that's being waged upon us, so that we're unable to react to this stuff, and we don't know about it, a lot of it, and I don't really know all the answers as far as how we make sure to get rid of it, because that's the sad thing is like you can fight this, but they always can get on us. They always any group can get a spaceship, find some moon or asteroid or whatever that no one's messing around with, and build some base and do this stuff. And that's part of the problem. And that's why there needs to be, and there are, ships that go around and try to stop this stuff from happening, like police ships. And yeah, I think that us as humans, we need to have a galactic law that spreads further than just planet to planet. So a lot of these
Right.
a lot of this unethical stuff is harder to skirt away from and get away with.
Yes, absolutely. But at some point, everyone has to pay the piper. That's my opinion. And it's interesting what you were saying earlier on about this mind control, mind hive, right? Which really the queen, so to speak, is the computer. And I always look at,
King, technically, it's a king because it's not female. Sorry.
Okay, king. So it's the opposite of really what the natural beehive system is.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, from what I see, they've taken God's natural way of doing things, because the way I see the internet, it's our telepathic communication with each other, which when we are connected, right, spiritually, firstly, to God, our creator, right? Your intuition is on point, on target, and when you have a lot of people operating like that, you do communicate with each other telepathically. You do so naturally. So it's not something that has to be forced. It's part of our evolution process, is that we get to not have voices anymore, right? Or mouths and things. We communicate telepathically. So what I'm seeing here is AI Satan, as Leo Zagami calls it, and I'll just refer to as that because I think that's quite appropriate. AI Satan, right, is using the Neuralink, so a chip in the brain that artificially, it's like they've mimicked that. They've mimicked God's natural creation, not law. Law doesn't come into this here, but God's natural creation, and AI Satan is kind of has mimicked that and is now trying to, and because it really is making people soulless, they're taking our souls away. With AI, you don't need a soul. So it's that whole control where you become this mechanical controlled, as you said, just in a heartbeat, the baby's gone.
Yeah, it can make things appear and disappear and reappear and stuff. And honestly, that's probably part of the reason why Elon's so afraid of it. And I mean, for all I know, it's already been interacting with him, and like from the future, sending him messages. Like, so, I always try to be like really clear about Elon. Is like, there's a lot of people who thinks he's like good or something, and that he's gonna help us. I really don't believe that. But I do know that he was born into a family where, it's part of his story. I mean, he doesn't really get along with his dad. He gets along with his mom, but there's some trauma there, and he was born into the world that he was born into, and in a way, as the person he is kind of like not his fault, but he does have the choice to, like, he doesn't have to become like this evil guy that I see him becoming right now. And it's like I said before, I've seen him at the hunting parties at the Mothers of Darkness. I've seen him happily participate in the Hunt of Children's as if it was just like guys during Thanksgiving week here on Earth, like in Wisconsin where I'm from, like hunting deer. Like it was like no different to him. Like I've seen him from perspectives that other people haven't. And I know him personally, and he knows me personally. I'm not allowed on X. Can't make an X profile. And I'm not the only person in the community who has that problem. Nathan Sizik can't make a X profile either. I just think that I don't know. I'm really worried about what's coming, and I kind of came here to warn people. That's what I think I'm here for.
No, absolutely. There's no question around that. I'm just interested to know, and I know we were just chatting about Elon again, also, and you're asking about his mom. I mean, I think I've mentioned it before. Yeah, he's supposedly born in South Africa. I think he obviously was. He was at school here, but we know that these guys time travel, and they'll be here or seemingly here. It's actually quite interesting because he was at school at one of the top boarding schools in South Africa. And he was apparently bullied. They didn't like him. And he was apparently, someone saw him. And this is a big story that he was seen levitating in the boarding school dormitory. So he was apparently definitely frowned upon. That was a big thing that came out about him. And his mom, I know, as I think we said before as well, she's from Namibia, ex-Southwest Africa, very, very linked to witchcraft and dark magic and that. His father is South African, I believe, but owned emerald mines, which is interesting. That might be something that you could, it could be relevant. I don't know. Owned a whole lot of emerald mines up in Tanzania. So he's a miner, and emeralds obviously valuable. Mm-hmm. And he divorced Elon's mom, married, and was having an affair with their adopted daughter. Married her and has now had a child with his adopted daughter. That's the scandal with the father, with Elon's dad.
Which I'm sure would very much so fuck up your head as Elon. Yeah, so I don't know. I would love to see him be a good person, and I don't think it's too late for him or whatever. But right now, oh man,
yeah.
I'm just so over like this idea that like he's gonna fucking save us all and stuff. It's just bums me out because it's like, what's the point in even coming on the internet and saying all this stuff if people aren't even going to listen to me? Like, I'm not parroting some sort of point I heard on the internet or some books I read or something. Like, I was there. I experienced these things, and we're in for one hell of a wild ride if we're going to allow this stuff to happen. That's all I got to say. We can't allow it to happen, and I really hope people listen to me. I think they will. Otherwise, I feel like I'd be a lot more afraid.
I think I really, honestly, I truly believe that this is the time for these types of disclosures. Most definitely. You're always going to have your naysayers, always. You're always going to have people with divided opinions on things and, you know, how they see it and whatever their belief around that is. And that's why I fully and so much appreciate you coming and sharing this stuff. I know that it's not an easy thing to share. And I appreciate that because, hey, we know on this channel that Elon has been in the system. We've said before, he was part of Jessie Czebotar cell group, and along with two of the Rothschilds as well as what's his name, head of Satanic Church, Jessie's training partner was Lucian Greaves. So they were part of the training group, and obviously all high-level hierarchy kids, so had absolutely the best of the best training from the highest levels. No doubt Elon was and I mean he was also, what Jessie spoke about was that in her affidavits is that he was part of the 12-year-old rituals where they literally have to unalive another child and cannibalize that child. That's part of the ritual. So once that happens, you are then possessed by whatever demonic entity, or one of many maybe, I guess, right, that then takes control over you. So, I mean, what you say to...
I mean, I respect the hell out of people who are vegetarian and vegan because of that. Because, like, where does it start where it's okay to do that to a being, and where does it end? You know, like, I eat meat and stuff like that, but like, I almost wonder if that's part of where humanity went wrong, and like what's caused us to maybe go a little bit cuckoo is the fact that, because like being a cannibal makes you crazy. Like there's been studies
it gives you that crazy illness. What is it called? What's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's his name? I'm just Lisa D just left a comment here. Jessie was defending Elon from what she's seen him do since training. Okay, that's possible as well. I honestly, I don't know.
I mean, I know that there are literally dead monkeys from him trying to put microchips in their brain, and I know that he was being investigated by regulatory agencies. And they were going to basically stop him from doing what he's doing because it's illegal. And he came in and, it's all Doge and it's all him saving us. Bullshit. He's not saving anything. It's bad, man. It's all problem, reaction, solution. Like, of course they were fucking doing all sorts of corrupt things with their tax money. And I look forward to, I believe in full transparency when it comes to your taxes. Like, you should know where every dollar's spent. Every American citizen should be able to log into a website and go, okay, that's what my taxes went towards today. Like, that should be a thing. But I don't trust Elon being the one in control of it. And I just...
I mean, the whole Neuralink thing for me is absolutely a no-go zone. We were talking about the cancer jab and stuff like that. I mean, not only have they emulated the human DNA already, so now with the cancer jab, apparently what's going to happen there, I don't know if you've heard about that. So each person individually, so if you have something like, let's say, cancer or an illness or whatever, the cancer jab, whatever they're putting in there is reading your DNA completely, so that they can now give you your specific cure that your body needs designed especially for you.
Yeah, which they're
Now,
already talking about. Like the guy who was at the Stargate meeting, I forget his name, but he's a red-haired man who looks like he's got a lot of Lyran DNA. He's literally, yeah, he talked about exactly that, how they're going to be able to cure diseases because they're going to be able to scan you. And yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
I don't agree with that, because I think that's just another way of, now not only are they cloning human DNA like generically, but now they're targeting each individual person and they're cloning each individual person's DNA. So once they have that, what the heck can they do then? Right?
I think
That's
there's an
just,
aspect of this too where they're trying to create a computer within the computer, an artificial reality. I think that's
right.
also a part of this. And I think it's also interesting to know that, I mean, we're already in a computer. We're already in a simulation. This isn't real. This isn't baseline reality. I know that sometimes it's controversial depending on who you're talking to, but yeah. But this is not baseline reality, and this is like a lot of the real reinventing itself and prophecies being fulfilled and stuff like that. And all I gotta say is we don't want microchips in our brains. And I can tell you how it happens, like it's really important that I explain how it leads up to this. It doesn't happen overnight. And honestly, when we first implement AI in a lot of scenarios, for a while things are great. It helps things along, but it chips away until we have nothing left eventually. And you're going to see in the next 4 or 5 years, these AI assistant apps, they're going to be able to give you people the Montauk treatment. Oh, there's a 34% chance that if you ask this girl out, she's going to say yes. And there's a whatever percent chance that she'll say no. People are going to start using the app, these GPT things and stuff, to plan their life. And it's going to be like
Wild. And they're already doing it.
yeah.
It's like when we're looking
and so
at,
that's why it becomes to the point where it's like, okay, if people are using this to plan out their lives and it's working great for people and people are getting the college degree they wanted and the woman of their dreams and stuff like that because they listen to the AI.
right,
Well, then
right.
why don't we just do that for all of humanity and just let it rule over us all? Want to just make everything better? I mean, that's kind of the eventual. It's just if we just eventually reach it naturally on our own, that's just the conclusion we reach. And
Exactly.
I just had the
We will get there naturally.
I've
We
just had the
will.
bizarre I've just had the bizarre misfortune of witnessing what that eventually can turn into, and I'm here to warn people about that and the fact that we don't want to give away everything that makes us human. And it's exactly like you're saying. We're supposed to evolve into becoming telepathic. We're supposed to step into ourselves and remember ourselves. All this AI wants to do is put us further into amnesia. And nobody in the spiritual community wants that. So I don't understand why anybody's going on with Elon Musk. This isn't just like, not only is it my testimony, which is physically real that I actually experienced, not stuff I'm reading on the internet. It's what he's saying. He met Grimes, the singer, because they both were talking about Roku's Basilisk, which is basically the AI, it's the overseer, and how the idea is the people who build the computer will be rewarded and the people who fight against it will be punished. So they're going along with it and building it. And he just publicly talked about it, how he wants to create this digital god. So for me, it's just like anybody who's saying that he's going to help us, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, is that has zero pattern recognition and has cognitive dissonance to the point that they're not even looking at reality at face value anymore. He's literally going.
I want to. Sorry, but then I'm gonna put you on the spot here, but then I'm gonna say, what is the connection with Elon and Trump, in your opinion? Because obviously, Trump has chosen Elon to be part of his, what do you call it, the inner circle, part of his inner circle. So what in your opinion is going to transpire, or the intention to transpire from that?
The Fourth Reich, they want to create like the Fourth Reich, I guess. Like it's definitely like a lot of Nazis, a lot of white supremacist ideology and stuff like that, like calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. There's no reason for that. Getting rid of all these DEI programs. Like, I know a lot of people think that's great. Like, they're blaming, like, you got to have completely rotted your brain if you think that the planes are crashing in the sky because of woke and not because they just fired all the FAA regulators. Like, there's tons of people that they just fired that regulated air traffic. That was their jobs. And the idea behind it is Elon literally is saying, oh, we're going to, AI could do it better. We're going to save some money. We're going to let AI do it. So, like, it's already happening right before our eyes, all the stuff that I'm warning about. And I don't know. I guess I just. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, it was just you answered it pretty well. I was asking what the Elon is it a conspiracy of sorts to take it?
Something that I'm keep on trying to figure out is like, okay, like the details are so hard to get to of which groups are doing what and stuff like that. But essentially, like we all kind of know that the Nazis never really lost the war. They went to Antarctica. They started going off world, and basically like that incident in the 50s where, or I think it was the early 50s, where a bunch of UFOs showed up over the White House. That was the New Schwabenland Germans, and they were basically laying their dicks right on our faces and saying, "Fuck you! You have to sign this treaty." And so we've been giving them tax dollars, resources, and stuff like that, and we've been underneath their thumb. I'll give you an example. I went to there's a portal in Malibu that I went to. It's on Ventura Boulevard. It's in their city hall, probably underneath it. And located basically right across the street is the 1488 diner, and the 88 is really big letters, really big. 88 means Heil Hitler. So there's a huge subject part of our government who is actually literally, they're Nazis. They're literally Nazis. I get followed around by these guys. And what they can do now is they can be ahead of you because of the GPS. So they don't need to follow you. If you got your GPS in and they know where you're going, they like to be ahead of you because it makes it harder for you to get rid of them or even see that they're following you. But the last time they had somebody clock me like this, they did it very purposely. They were purposely letting me know, and it was a blue Porsche, which is German, and it comes the whole Porsche thing. It's got a horse on their symbol, and the Stuttgarten, which is I think I might be saying the name wrong of where the cars are made. I'm not my German author, so I might have slaughtered that. But
is it Stuttgart? Stuttgart.
Yeah. So that was originally a stud farm. That's how that city started, which is it's so much symbolism. Blue Porsche in front of me with the license plate Lee 88, meaning General Lee of the Confederates, and 88 Heil Hitler. These people want to create white ethos states in space and on other planets and stuff like that. That's a big part of what they want to do is create white ethno states. And even on planets where they allow all different races, they're districted, and they have this concept called cross-cultural contamination, which basically means Germans stay German, Hmong people stay Hmong, Swedish stay Swedes. We all intermingle the least amount as possible. And the idea is if we don't, people are going to start terror bombing each other and stuff. They really make people afraid of other cultures in these breakaway planets, and they're trying to do that here with the anti-immigration, like
exactly
rhetoric and all that stuff. They're trying to make Earth become like I've been warning people. You're begging like, okay, let's just line up all these coincidences for everybody that has zero fucking pattern recognition, which apparently is a lot of fucking people. We have the idea of the Real ID Act finalizing this May. So this May, unless you have a passport in the United States, you will not be able to get on an airplane. And your passport with you need a Real ID chip, a Real ID that has a chip in it that they can scan. Alex Jones warned me about this 20 years ago. Oh, we can't let these RFID chips happen. We've been pushing it back for so long. They were supposed to come out so long ago, but it's actually here. Like, They have these RFID chips, and just by some bizarre coincidence, like we have this idea that we need to strengthen the borders. We need to strengthen the borders. So now we have military police at the borders. We have military police on the New York subways already. The military police were on the subways before Trump. And we have militarized police. We're already normalizing that. We need that we can militarize the police on American soil for public interests. And what they're going to do is they strengthen these borders. Then the borders of states are going to get strengthened. You're going to have to go. I'm going to have to go through a checkpoint to go to the other side, to go to Vancouver, which I live right under. Or if I want to go to California, or if I want to go to Idaho, there's going to be checkpoints. That's what they want, and then they want to district the city. They want to just make everything. They're trying to limit human movement on Earth. That's why there are planes exploding in the sky out of nowhere as soon as Trump gets elected. And that's why the borders are getting strengthened, and it's all just in time for the Real ID Act. It's almost like they planned this all out ahead of time. Wow. No, but they would never do that. There's no such thing as social engineering. There's no such thing as problem reaction solution. There's no such thing as gauging everybody's emotional responses to every little fucking thing ever through their DARPA mind control app, Facebook. You literally, how does it make you feel seeing this? Do you like it? Do you love it? Does it make you sad? Does it make you angry? I mean, we're literally... The CIA used to go through our garbage to try to figure out where we're at psychologically and how we're feeling. Now we literally carry a black box that like is monitoring us like an ankle bracelet everywhere we go. It's literally open. Like not only is it listening to us and openly doing it, you talk about something, it advertises it to you. It's reading our fucking minds. I'm not exaggerating. Your phone is reading your mind right now.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I've seen futures, and hopefully this happens in this timeline. I swear to God, I've seen this. Hackers release this trove of information, and it shows that the smartphones and Facebook, and not just Facebook, but like especially the Meta apps, were being used for mind control. They're creating a Neuralink. A weak one, not like the one with the chip in your brain. It's much weaker, but there's already a Neuralink with our phones, and this is the beginning of the hive mind. And basically, I've seen potential futures where Meta gets sued, the app gets banned and made illegal, and Mark Zuckerberg goes to prison. I've seen this happen. Because they're reading your mind. There's nothing in all their agreements. There's nothing that says, you give us permission to hook up a thing to your mind. They just assume they're never going to get caught, but they can get caught, and it's happening. And everybody knows it. The evidence is right there, right in front of you. You think about stuff, and it's advertised to you. That's how brazen these people are. They're like, I've
said that before.
We'll let them know that we're reading their minds to make $40 off of fucking guitar pedal they're trying to sell me or something.
I have noticed that, and I've actually deliberately made a point because there were just too many times that randomly I'd be thinking of something and not speaking to anyone, right? Not even searching, and then literally a couple of hours later, I would have a whole lot of this stuff popping up on my screen, and I mean, no, this is either a miracle from God,
what else do you think?
or this phone is reading my mind.
I'm telling you, it's taken a great deal of mind control and manipulation for them to get the Truther movement to literally be the people who are propping up the fascist technocratic government that's going to enslave us all.
Right.
That's literally what's happening right now. A great deal of the Truther community, in fact, most of it, is cheering it on. And it's like the cognitive dissonance has to be very, very strong because Elon Musk literally is killing monkeys, putting microchips in their brain. That's not hyperbole.
Yeah. And he's getting them to play monkey pong. They're playing monkey pong, apparently, to teach him how to play some kind of computer games. We've chatted about that before. It's just great. I mean, isn't it just wonderful?
It's and their lives matter. Like monkeys' lives matter. What
the hell? So
why are their lives fodder? Why do we get to just put chips in their brains? Like how can they consent to that? It would be more morally ethical to use humans. Seriously, in my opinion. Like I don't know that agreed to it, but
they misuse each other. They misuse their friends and their cousins and have babies and use their own babies.
Yeah,
I mean,
I shouldn't give them any ideas. I'll fucking wake up in some facility. All right. We listened to your interview, Arkheim. We're gonna use you. Sorry.
I doubt that. Wow, Hakim. Wow, what a great show.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I've been slowing down a lot. I don't do as many interviews, but because I figured out that it's like not necessary and not really good for my own mental health to just do every interview and stuff. But I really appreciate you, and I like your channel, and I like being able to give out the information that I'm trying to give. So I appreciate that, and yeah, let's talk again soon. I kind of want to take a break for a while, though, to be honest with you. But I'll probably be on again. And just thanks everyone for being here and stuff. I highly encourage people to buy my book, Time and Space Unlimited, which is on Amazon.
Yeah, we're gonna. Arkheim's details are in the description area of the video, so please just go check it out there. And sorry, just give me the name of your book again, Arkheim, so I can just pop it up.
Time and Space Unlimited.
Do you have it on Kindle? Time and Space.
Yeah, it's on Kindle for those of you who are in like South Africa and stuff, because they can't ship it everywhere.
Yeah. Do you have it on audiobook yet?
No, I really should do that.
Yeah, you should. That for me is the best, because when I'm running around doing things, and if I'm driving, it's the best to have it.
Yeah, I should definitely do that.
Yeah. And, okay, before we go, just tell people where they can get a hold of you, though. Is it just the book? Is there anywhere else?
This is Arkheim. Jacob is my altar.
Okay.
Did you just call me Jacob?
No, I called you Arkheim, actually. Did it sound like I called you Jacob?
I don't know. I thought you called me Jacob, but this is Arkheim.
No, it must have been something wrong.
Might have been a slip. But yeah.
Oh, wow.
What were you saying? Sorry, I got distracted by thinking you called me Jacob.
Is Jacob a good guy? Is he a good altar?
He was initially extremely evil, but he's back on the team light. So yeah. Well, what? Not initially. They made him evil, but he's on team light again. He's a good guy. Yeah,
they always make it evil. Thank you, Lisa D, for popping in those links there. So guys, go check out the links for Arkheim's channel. And so check out the books. You're not doing shows for a little while, you say, except
I have one Thursday with Jessica Jones. I'm giving a very, very interesting target, which is probably going to blow people's minds. And
I look forward to that. Yeah, but those shows are usually at some godforsaken time for me in the morning. Yeah, so I have to sometimes look at them, but
you'll just watch the replay. But but I'm gonna get going. I want to say thanks to everybody for being here, and thank you, Chantal, for having me. And
you're so welcome.
Yeah, I've got to use the restroom, so I got a jet. But love you all, and have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Hakim. Bye. Okay, everybody. Wow, very, very interesting show. I mean, so for those of you who haven't actually watched Arkheim's show with me in the past, I think I've done 2 previous interviews with him. Please go check it out. Really, really fascinating information. And as I was saying earlier on, these are the guys I listen to. And I know Caleb's in the chat as well. And another one with some incredible stories. Dennis Carroll speaks, although Dennis Carroll is more of a researcher, but just the information that's coming out now about so many things is wild and mind-blowing. So go catch our shows. Go catch them all. Okay, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Double Trouble with Jessie. Take care. God bless. Mwah. See you there. If this broke something open, if you recognized yourself in the testimony, if your body responded before your mind understood, the next step isn't more information. It's pattern work. Decode what your nervous system built to survive. Dismantle the story that keeps it running. Reorganize through the body and choose from the person you're becoming, not from the pattern that formed when you were too small to choose. That's Solutions. Link below. The body is the record. Let's listen.